Post-apocalypse. Beginning by hoarding 10 billion supplies. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 151. You can't run away, just grab it. Fans Aoki had a bright smile on her pretty face, and she was playing with two cool pistols in her hand. Little sister, come with us, so as not to suffer. Zhang Li gently waved his hand at the ring of fire, and the scorching wall of flame rose again. Imolan pursed her lips. A solemn look appeared under her eyes. It seems that today is less fierce. Taking out the exaggerated laser cannon behind her back, she was ready to give it a go. You. Boom! A dazzling pillar of light rose up into the sky, and the blinding white light stung everyone's eyes. When everyone reacted, they saw that the wall of flame, which was still extremely solid, had shattered, revealing the petite body inside. Actually, ran out. Zhang Li's eyes widened in surprise, and she looked at Imolan, who was standing outside the ring of fire, in disbelief. Although the explosion just now was not very powerful, it was enough to blow this ring of fire apart. How could she be unscathed? Another ring on Imolan's hand suddenly dimmed. The energy of the iron shield, acceleration, black shadow, defense, 4 rings has been exhausted. And on her hand, there are 6 more rings. Cage. Another ring lit up with a yellow glow, and a rumbling sounded. A dungeon made of rock rises, and imprisoned 7 people in it. She seems to be able to use a variety of attribute abilities. Yang Yunan blinked her eyes in surprise. It's really powerful. The faces of several people did not panic at all, but looked at Imolan with interest. The huge movement attracted the attention of Mu Yun and the others in the castle, and they quickly rushed out of the house. As soon as he came out, he saw Imolan carrying a laser cannon and slamming it at the rock dungeon. Boom. A violent concussion sounded, and the entire castle seemed to shake twice, and the rock dungeon was completely destroyed. Mu Yun and the others looked in the direction of the dungeon, stunned, not knowing what had happened. The smoke and dust cleared, and Zhang Lan waved her arm. Ah, this thing really hurts to hit people. Patting the dust on his body, Zhang Lan lifted the steel. The laser cannon just now was carried down by her alone, and everyone was unscathed. The laser cannon, that can kill the 4th order monster in seconds, was actually carried by a woman. What a perverted existence. It's not over yet, Melon muttered, ready to use the rest of the ring. At this moment, a familiar voice reached her ears. Lin, don't mess around. Hearing this sound, Melon looked up at the source of the sound. Moon. Yi Hanayu, who was dressed in cartoon pajamas, fell from the sky and landed in front of her. Looking at Yi Hanayu, who suddenly appeared, Imolan's heart trembled slightly, and her eyes instantly turned red. Moon. I've come to save you. Come with me. She stretched out her arms and hugged Yi Hanayu, and tears of excitement slipped from the corners of her eyes. Let me breathe first. Yi Hanayu struggled to get out of Imolan's arms. This girl hugged her so tightly that it made her chest hurt. Oh. Imolan awkwardly let go of her hand and took half a step back. Immediately, like a cat protecting food, he stopped Yi Hanayu behind him and stared around vigilantly. Click, click. The weapons on Imolan's body were fully turned on, and as long as the other party dared to make any moves, she promised to send them to hell immediately. Cough. Lin, you put things away first. Let's talk slowly. Yi Hanayu cleared her throat and touched Imolan's silky hair soothingly. Don't be afraid, Moon, I can. Saying that, the 5 rings on his right hand, which had never been used, were full of brilliance. Seal. Lift. Imolan's words fell, and the 5 rings on her right hand simultaneously released powerful energy fluctuations, covering the entire space in an instant. At the same time, a mysterious and majestic energy filled the space, stunned everyone present. Stupid, stop. Yi Hanayu drank slowly and went up to punch. Jumpo Imolan squatted on the ground holding her head, looking at Yi Hanayu aggrievedly. Why are you hitting me? As soon as the words fell, the majestic energy suddenly disappeared, as if it had never appeared. Metup. The plan is terminated, and I have now joined the Dragon Court, so, for now, they are their own people. Merlin. She silently withdrew her weapon and rubbed her head aggrievedly. I killed all the way from E-City, and now I actually told me that the plan was terminated. Okay, well, don't cry. Yi Hanayu took Emolin's hand and gently wiped the remaining tear marks on her face. Moon, are you threatened? Follow me. We rebuild the dark web. No one dares to bully you anymore with me. No one threatens me. It's a long story. Follow me. Castle living room. Yi Hanayu pulled Emolin to explain, and the rest of the crowd looked at the cool weapons on Emolin curiously. Brother-in-law, technology is so advanced now? Chuyu tugged on Mu-Yun's sleeve. I saw these things in the movie. Mu-Yun glanced at her. So what? Now is the era of supernatural powers. Unless it is a Star Destroyer cannon, who can help us? These things shouldn't be men's romance. Why aren't you interested at all? Chuan-Tian poked him. Her abilities interest me more. Mu-Yun looked at the rings of different colors on Emolin's hand. Thoughtful. It seems that this woman has successfully awakened and, like the previous life, has become a divine forger who can forge psionic weapons. Unexpectedly, this Emolin turned out to be an old acquaintance with Yi Hanayu, and the relationship was very good. Then the next thing is much easier. After a long time, Emolin slowly accepted the status quo. Looking at Yi Hanayu white and fat, it seems that life is indeed good. She also became a 5th order special powerhouse, not as she thought, living in humiliation after being imprisoned. In this way, she was relieved. To sum up, Lin will stay in the future. Where the moon is, Rin is. Melin replied firmly. Mu-Yun nodded in satisfaction on the side. Not bad, good needle. Emolin, although you are Yi Hanayu's friend, our dragon court does not raise idlers, so. Mu-Yun was just about to start fooling, and he didn't think about it. Jingle bells. Melin poured out a bunch of crystal nuclei directly from his backpack. All of them are above the 3rd order, there are many of the 4th order, and there are even 3 5th order crystal nuclei. There were at least 300 or 400 of them on the table, and Mu-Yun was dumbfounded. Is this enough? Well, affection is a little rich woman. Mu-Yun quietly put away the crystal nucleus. Ahem, yes, this should be 1 year's rent. Chapter 152. Emolin glanced at Mu-Yun lightly and said nothing. These are just the things she kills on the way, and if she wants to, she can kill more monsters and get more crystal nuclei. But Yi Hanayu on the side was shocked. I'll go. Rin, where did you get so many crystal nuclei? That's enough for me to break through the 6th order. Yi Hanayu's eyes were shining and staring at Emolin. It was really powerful. Pointing to the huge laser cannon behind him, Emolin smiled and did not speak. Everyone was a little speechless. They had already seen the power of this thing, and if Zhang Lan hadn't blocked that shot by a 5th order steelman, Zhang Li and the others would definitely not feel good. Who is this beautiful girl? And the technology on her body is not at all like what people in this era should have. Will it not be the Terminator Z97 that crossed from the future? Just when everyone was thinking about it, Yi Hanayu told the experience of the two. As the saying goes, things gather people in groups. Genius girls are always surrounded by the same demons. If Yi Hanayu's theoretical genius is the genius, then Emolin is the real king of the practical school. As long as Yi Hanayu dared to design the drawings, Emolin had a way to manufacture the physical object. No matter what kind of whimsical thing, she can do it. The two are a pair made in heaven. Someday, the two geniuses met by chance, hit it off, and the original dark web organization was officially established under the instigation of Yi Hanayu, a girl from middle school. Gradually, the dark web is becoming more and more famous. Many geniuses who consider themselves demons have joined the organization, but the existence of this organization remains a mystery. Yi Hanayu only accepted real geniuses, and those who were indiscriminate ignored it all. Others only know that there is such an organization, but there are some people in the organization who do not know anything. Until the successful launch of the Skynet satellite, Yi Hanayu's identity was revealed by the higher level. Skynet is too powerful. No one can break Skynet's defenses, even if the United Nations summons hackers from all over the world. But how could they not use such a powerful feature? If they were used, wouldn't all of their state secrets be under Yi Hanayu's control? This is not allowed by governments. At that time, Huaxia was divided into two factions. The leader, headed by the Kim family, believed that he should go all out to protect a genius like Lee Han-yu and achieve coexistence and reciprocity. The faction led by the Yang family believes that the existence of the dark web threatens the security of the entire country, and the value of the Skynet is far beyond imagination, and they must firmly grasp it in their own hands. The two forces are deadlocked, and neither can help the other. However, at this time, the Yang family took the lead and sent troops to attack the headquarters of Skynet's aerospace company, controlling all the employees within the company. I thought that I would be able to get control of Skynet in this way, but Lee Han-yu had already prepared. The Yang family only gained control of the Skynet application layer, and the core database was in the hands of the dark web itself from beginning to end. Lee Han-yu erased all the information of everyone on the dark web, and from that day on, the dark web completely disappeared. But over time, there will eventually be mistakes. One of the members was accidentally arrested for going to the pink room, and when it was investigated, it was found that there was no such person, and finally it was completely exposed. Not only was the core data obtained by the government, but several secret strongholds on the dark web were also cleared. Since then, in order not to be implicated by other members, the dark web organization has completely fallen apart, and everyone has lived a life of seclusion. Until Lee Han-yu's text message, the hidden information in it can be detected, as long as it is a member of the dark web. As for how many people will come to her rescue, it is unknown. But Lee Han-yu knew that someone would definitely come. That is the 3-0 girl Imogen buried in her chest at this moment. As a top master of the dark web, it is more than enough to rescue yourself. Unfortunately, the development speed of the Dragon Court is too exaggerated. The high-tech weapons that had been developed were simply not enough to see in front of high-level powers. Since Lee Han-yu didn't know how to contact Imogen, she thought that she was still detained in the Dragon Court, but fortunately nothing happened in the end. After everyone listened to Lee Han-yu's legendary life experience, they sighed, which was also too mysterious. The peerless double pride of the dark web gathered in the Dragon Court. Doesn't it feel like a brilliance? Lee Han-yu raised her white chin arrogantly, looking proud. Well, just remember to pay the rent, Mu-yeon said lightly. Bye. The pile just now has at least 100,000 points, and you are kind enough to raise the rent. I have the most complete anime library in the world, and I can't help it. Mu-yeon's words directly pinched Lee Han-yu's weakness, making her immediately shut up obediently. By the way, Imogen, I still have some magical stones here. Let's see if you can make them into psionic weapons. Saying that, Mu-yeon took out the special energy crystal nuclei he had collected before. A bunch of black crystal nuclei of different sizes appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The two largest of them are the crystal nuclei of the bladed knife and the yellow sand, which are the most eye-catching. Imogen left Lee Han-yu's embrace and carefully looked at the crystal nuclei on the table. Well, you can. Halfering, Melon gave an affirmative answer. But, no material. Pointing to the colorful rings on his hand, there are not enough materials, so I can only make rings. Regarding the materials, Mu-yeon had already prepared. Previously, he had hoarded a large amount of rare metals, all of which were used to forge psionic weapons. After the end times began, these already rare metals became even more precious. Looking at the various strange metal blocks on the table, Imogen's eyes widened. Without saying a word, she picked up the energy crystal nucleus of the blade, as well as 5 or 6 pieces of metal that Mu-yeon did not recognize. I saw that with a wave of her hand, these materials slowly hung between her hands. A colorful flame instantly rose, wrapping all the materials, and in a moment, all the originally solid metal melted. The energy crystal nucleus also gradually deformed under the flames, and finally turned into a shimmering water droplet. Immediately afterwards, the water droplets slowly merge into the liquid metal solution and fully fuse. Black smoke rises, and a large number of useless impurities are refined out. Condensation. With emollients in different order, the originally boiling liquid instantly contracted and solidified, changing from the size of a small leather ball to the size of an ordinary fist. Plastic. Another order was given, and the piece of metal changed shape as if spiritually, and finally turned into a silver glove. It worked. Everyone exclaimed, with a living expression. This kind of thing, they have never heard of. Yi Hanai was also taken aback. After all, among the people present, except for Mu Yun, no one had ever seen the means of the divine Duan master. Chapter 153. Merlin smiled and nodded. HMM. He handed the silver gloves to Mu Yun and motioned for him to put them on to try the effect. Mu Yun took the gloves, put them on directly without hesitation, and then the spiritual power was activated. Zing, a long silver knife appeared through the air, and a sharp aura rushed to his face. Mu Yun's mind moved again, and the long knife was immediately withdrawn into the glove. Zing, this time 3 wolf claws popped out, like Wolverine, from the back of the hand. The glove perfectly inherits the ability of the blade knife, which can transform any part of the glove into a blade. Mu Yun touched the edge of the knife, and its sharpness had to avoid its edge, even if it was Zhanglan's steel. The key point is that the blade will not be damaged. Once a gap appears, the retracted glove pops out again with a brand new blade. Mu Yun nodded in satisfaction, and then gave the gloves to Chuantian. Chuanshan was stunned. What to do for me? Defend yourself. Mu Yun said as a matter of course. Now that it has reached our level, ordinary blades are no longer adaptable. You can keep it for yourself. Chuanshan asked hesitantly, always feeling that this thing was too valuable. Take it with confidence. Mu Yun blinked. I have a better weapon. I don't need it. Chuantian still wanted to refuse. Mu Yun directly put the glove on her hand. Immediately approached Chuantian's ear and whispered, when you go to bed at night, you remember to take it off. I'm afraid. Chuantian's face instantly turned red, and he glared at Mu Yun angrily. Everyone watched the two flirting, and couldn't help but cough lightly. Although the two show affection in front of outsiders and abuse dogs, they are inexplicably envious. Seeing the appearance of the two, Chuyu was the first to protest. Bar the sour smell of love, I slipped away. You guys continue. After that, Chuyu left, as if he were running, and when he left, he didn't forget to take the little cute Coco away. Seeing this, the rest of the people also dispersed. Look at you. Shame on you. Chuanshan blushed and punched Mu Yun fiercely. Mu Yun grabbed her wrist, with a wicked smile on the corner of her mouth. Shyness of what? It's all old husbands and wives. I'm too lazy to pay attention to you. I'm leaving. Looking at Chuantian's departing back, Mu Yun just smiled faintly. After handing a part of the rare metal to Merlin, he gave 2 simple orders, and he chased after him. Merlin, on the other hand, began to study the valuable materials on the table with great interest. Yi Hanai, who did not leave either. Now that Merlin has joined as her right-hand man, she has many plans that can be implemented. The most critical of these is the air defense of the base. What she was afraid of was not the corpse tide, but the insect tide in Mu Yun's mouth. That's the most deadly thing. Once the insect tide was recharged, it rushed to the base overwhelmingly, and the towering city wall had no effect at all. She took out a thick design draft and prepared to study with Merlin how to transform the base air defense. As night falls, the base is brightly lit. On the street, men and women hook up, frolic or gossip, and occasionally walk together when they meet people of the opposite sex who are in love with each other. Today's men and women are not as shy as they used to be. No one knows how long they will live in the last days. Instant pleasure became the norm. Inside the Phoenix building, people come and go. The Mad Lion was waiting in the hall and was almost asleep, but the hateful woman had not yet been caught. He also didn't have the ability to ask for someone from the Dragon Court, so he had no choice but to continue to wait. Unfortunately, his wait was doomed to futile. Outside the towering city walls, it was dark as ink, and there was a dead silence, which was a sharp contrast with the inside of the base. The occasional roar and zombie roar is creepy. Just 20 or 30 kilometers outside the base, suddenly, there was a rumbling sound, followed by a shaking of the ground, and the surrounding tall buildings seemed to tremble. A behemoth is frantically crashing into the city wall. It is covered with hard scales. Its head is hideous. Its eyes are red. Mucus flows from its mouth. It smells fishy. Its limbs are thick. Its muscles are ragged, and it has long barbs on the tip of its tail. At this moment, there are more than a dozen annoying insects in front of it, constantly tickling themselves. Suddenly a rain of bullets shot at the lizard, but it didn't hurt it in the slightest. The monitor lizard raised its right foot and violently trampled the ground, and the ground instantly collapsed several pieces, and a powerful thrust overturned the human who was blocking it. Screams followed. "Quick! Let's go!" Someone below shouted loudly, and then a group of people quickly fled towards the north. Their mission is to guide the monster to the Dragon Court. For this, 3 teams of 100 people had already died, all in order to lure away the 4 mutant green slaves. But the military order is like a mountain. Even if more people are sacrificed, they must complete the task. The mournful screams broke the quiet night sky, and wave after wave of soldiers went to die. And their sacrifice was only for the monitor lizard to slowly move a distance. Inside the military base, Old Yang. After only 2 kilometers of walking, we sacrificed more than 500 soldiers in vain, which is more than 500 living lives. Shen Liang shot up angrily, his forehead bruised, obviously really angry. Standing by the office window, Yang Chen's expression was still calm, and he didn't even frown. "Old Shen," Yang Chen said lightly, "we are at war now, where there are immortals who fight." Hearing Yang Chen's words, Shen Liang snorted coldly and sat back on the sofa. "Report, sir, the 6th and 7th squads have all died, and the 8th squad is still holding out." The herald outside the door immediately reported the situation. "Keep sending people, no matter what, the task must be completed," Yang Chen said in a deep voice. "Yes." Looking at the dark moonlight outside the window, a haze appeared on Yang Chen's face. "Even if all the soldiers of the regiment on my hands are dead, as long as my father's assistance arrives, Yang Chen can still dominate the entire B city. It is best that the monitor lizard and the Dragon Court die together, so that the resources of the entire city belong to him." Such a thought flashed. Yang Chen's eyes narrowed slightly, and he didn't know what he was thinking. A certain bedroom at a military base. Chen Feng was packing his suitcase. "Brother, what are you doing?" Chen Zi looked at Chen Feng puzzled. Packing his luggage at this time, was it to leave the base? "That's right, you quickly pack your things, and we will leave this place immediately." Chen Zi was stunned and looked at Chen Feng in amazement. "Brother, why are we leaving here? I'm not going." Chen Feng scolded solemnly. "Do you think it's safe here? Didn't the monsters all lead away?" Chen Zi retorted unconvinced. Chen Feng sneered. "HMPH, you think that this place is heavily guarded and unbreakable, but in fact, the wind comes from all sides, and in an instant, it will disappear." Chapter 154. "Brother, what do you mean?" Chen Zi listened to the clouds and fog. "What is the wind from all sides, and it will disappear in an instant?" "It's too late to explain. You go and pack up first. I'll talk on the way." Although Chen Zi was very reluctant, under Chen Feng's tough attitude, he could only go to pack up his things first. Soon, the two packed up neatly, carried 2 full hiking bags, and came to the gate of the base. "Hey, isn't this Captain Chen? Is there a task so late?" A guard in camouflage clothes greeted Chen Feng. Chen Feng nodded lightly, and did not respond. The guard seemed to be accustomed to Chen Feng's personality, but he didn't say anything, and directly let him go. Because Chen Zi was wearing a cap, he covered half of his fair face, and no one noticed anything abnormal by taking advantage of the dark night. Strange, it's so late, and it's still carrying such a big bag. It doesn't look like it's on a mission. Who knows? Anyway, this person is a big red man next to the regiment leader. We can't afford to mess with it. Several guards beside him were talking. Chen Feng ignored everyone's gossip and directly left the base with Chen Zi, disappearing into the night. "Brother, you can say it now, right?" Not long after leaving the base, Chen Zi couldn't wait to ask. Alas. Chen Feng sighed deeply. This base may be finished, and we must take advantage of the gap when the monitor lizard is lured away and evacuate quickly. Chen Zi was immediately dumbfounded when he heard this. "Isn't the base good, brother? You're not crazy, right? You idiot." Chen Feng glanced at this silly sister without anger. If the monitor lizard is really led to the Dragon Court base, it will completely destroy the Dragon Court. Then this is the next target, and now it is only delayed for a few days. But if the Dragon Court kills the monitor lizard back, then the Dragon Court also has the ability to destroy our base, and at that time, we will not be able to withstand the anger of others. No matter what the outcome, the base is a dead end. Chen Zi felt that his brother was thinking too pessimistically. That's not right. Hasn't Big Brother Yang already found reinforcement? Chen Feng shook his head. It's not that simple. The matter of reinforcement is weird everywhere. Yang Chen only received a few text messages from the Yang family. The sons are dying, but the father only sent 2 text messages, and there is definitely something wrong with this matter. Chen Zi's eyes widened. No, brother, are you thinking too much? I trust my instincts. Chen Feng said categorically. In short, I can't gamble with the lives of the 2 of us for such an uncertain thing. Okay, it's going to start dying again. Chen Zi muttered. Chen Zi actually didn't believe her brother's idea, and she enjoyed the feeling of being admired in the base, and didn't want to leave. But it backfired. Who let this be his own brother? Don't be poor. Be careful of the green slaves around you. Chen Feng reminded. It's wilderness, and you can be in danger at any time. Don't worry, brother, the 2 of us are 4th order powers, and the powerful monsters have been lured away, and we can walk sideways in the city now. Chen Zi assured with a grin. Chen Feng shook his head, and did not speak. Soon, the 2 of them walked farther and farther away from the base. The 2 of them and City B couldn't stay, so they could only head towards City C to the south. The next morning, Mu Yun woke up from the soft big bed, and after a night of struggle, the whole person was refreshed. However, what surprised him was that the heat of the originally sunny world had decreased for some reason. Wearing thin pajamas, he actually felt a little cold. What's going on? Is it physical weakness? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Leo's kidney is so good. How is it possible? Mu Yun muttered, didn't care too much, and woke up Chuantian, who was sleeping beside him. At that moment, a piercing alarm sounded throughout the city. This is an alarm that only sounds when the tide of corpses strikes, or when something major changes. Chuantian, who was originally still sleepy-eyed, woke up instantly. What's going on? It should be a 6th order crystal nucleus sent to the door. I'll go to the city wall first. Mu Yun put on his clothes, washed up without hurry, and flew towards the city wall. Standing on the city wall, Mu Yun looked into the distance. I saw a behemoth slowly approaching with a steady step. With every step taken by the mountain-like body, the ground trembled slightly. The body of the monitor lizard is covered with dense and sharp scales, like armor, exuding a suffocating, terrifying power. Behind him was an endless army of green corpses. Among them, 4 mutant green slaves of different colors are particularly conspicuous. Ugh. Chuyu teleported in a space and appeared next to Mu Yun with Beizishu and Zion IE. Wow, what a big guy. Chuyu couldn't help but sigh. Beizishu was also quite excited. Is this a 6th order mutant beast? I can break through by absorbing its crystal nucleus. Zion IE, HMM. Ha, this crystal nucleus is not necessarily yours. A cold snort with a slight defiance sounded behind the 3. Yihan Ayu, who had black circles under her eyes, brought Zhongli, Chuantian and the others over by controlling gravity. It was Yang Yunyan, the little girl, who spoke. Everyone present wanted to obtain this 6th order crystal nucleus to break through. The 2 sides are at loggerheads, and no one will let anyone. Yihan Ayu yawned and watched the excitement on the side. She was not interested in this battle, and simply came to see the play. Chuantian even brought all the Coco over, which was simply like he was on vacation. How did you bring Coco? In the face of Mu Yun's questioning, before Chuantian could speak, the Coco in his arms pouted angrily. Does uncle dislike Coco? This. Mu Yun hurriedly coaxed. How can it? Uncle likes Coco the most. HMPH. No, now my uncle only has my aunt in my head, and Coco is already a burden for my uncle. Coco Milk said fiercely. Hearing Coco's fairy tales, everyone present was Wana. Chuanshai and Kyo's face was slightly red, and he gently rubbed Coco's little head. You ghost girl, what are you talking about? Don't quibble, the teacher told me. Yihan Ayu, who was watching the play on the side, was shocked when she heard this. I'm just a watcher, how can I lie down inexplicably? The teacher said that, if Coco is not studied well, no one will like it in the future, and it will become a burden for my uncle. Little Lolly blinked her eyes, but the corners of her mouth outlined an imperceptible cunning. She didn't want to memorize any 99 multiplication table. It was better for the teacher to have a big fight with her uncle, and then she could be liberated. Hey, this melon baby, even a rake upside down, it's worthy of being taught by me. Yihanai pouted. Everyone present could not see the scheme of a 6-year-old child, but just smiled, and did not take it seriously. Okay, Coco, don't mess around, let's watch the show. Chuanshan touched Coco's head and said gently. The treacherous scheme did not succeed. Coco deflated her mouth, and hugged Chuantian's neck aggrievedly. It's all badass. Chapter 155. Roar. At this moment, the monitor lizard roared, attracting everyone's attention. Boom. After trampling to death the few annoying bugs left in front of it with a move of war trampling, the monitor lizard stopped. And those scollard eyes stared closely at the towering city wall ahead. The two sides faced off in the air. Mu Yun looked at the soldiers who were trampled by the monitor lizard and knew that this was a good thing done by the military base as soon as he looked at the style of his clothes. Misfortune leads to the east and kills with a knife. Mu Yun sneered. In the face of absolute power, all intrigues and tricks are futile. Just when everyone thought that this behemoth was preparing to attack, something unexpected happened. I saw that the monitor lizard's barbed tail swept away, directly swept a large number of green slaves behind him, smashed into the city wall in front, and suddenly shattered thousands of corpses, flesh, and blood, and a strong rancid smell wafted out. What does this guy want to do? Everyone looked confused, not knowing which wind this monitor lizard smoked. Do you want to directly smash through the base wall in this way? That's silly. Even if the body of a third order green slave is smashed on the steel plate outside the city wall, it will only end up becoming a meat sauce. Ho-roar. Just when everyone was puzzled, the forking Khan beside the monitor lizard let out a roar, immediately rushed to the pile of corpses under the city wall, dug out the crystal nucleus in the green slave's head, and returned to the monitor lizard like a treasure. Garlum. The monitor lizard lowered its head, rolled its tongue, and a large number of crystal nuclei swallowed directly into its mouth. It can't be that you are preparing to break through the 7th order, right? Healing's words were astonishing. Everyone immediately gasped. Well, this crow's mouth is open, and if it does not break through, it will have to break through. Huh. Healing tilted her head, not knowing how powerful her crow mouth was. Why are you looking at me like this? Everyone shook their heads, not knowing what to say. The 7th order is not bad. I can break through if I take its crystal nucleus. Mu Yun wished that this guy would break through, and a 7th order crystal nucleus was equivalent to 1 million points, which was enough for him to advance to the 6th order. Or let Chuantian directly break through the 7th order. No matter who the two of them use, once the promotion is successful, even if an 8th order terrifying creature appears, they will not be afraid at all. Everyone quietly watched the monitor lizard operate, and they were not in a hurry to make a move. Niu Dazayang and Zaoyi subordinates had already gathered, and at this moment, everyone on the city wall was fully armed and waiting for the battle. In the base, people became panicked because of the appearance of the 6th order mutant beast. Sister Lan and Afu are leading a patrol brigade to maintain order and calm the emotions of the survivors. Several big forces, such as the Blood Wolf and the Black Bear, were coming down to the edge of the city wall with their hands at this moment. They are not here to help. Since they paid a high protection fee, it was natural for the Dragon Court base to protect them. They chose to sit on the mountain and watch the tiger fight, and once the situation was not right, they immediately looked for an opportunity to escape. However, looking at Mu Yun and the others with a victorious appearance, they also secretly guessed what whole cards did this city lord have. Today, it is a great opportunity for all forces to spy on the true strength of the Dragon Court, which cannot be missed. Mu Yun glanced at the few big forces in the distance, but he couldn't help but sneer in his heart. What kind of thoughts they are, Mu Yun can see through at a glance. But the Dragon Court should also show its iron fist to deter this group of young people. Save yourself to find it unpleasant later. The monitor lizard was still standing in place, with a cold and bloodthirsty look flashing in its scholar eyes. The instinct of the beast tells it that there are two terrifying auras above the city wall, which are not easy to mess with. But if you can get their crystal nucleus, you will definitely be able to go to the next level. Soon, it's about to break through. Click, click. Countless crystal nuclei swallowed into the blood basin and exploded in the body. The monitor lizard's eyes became more and more red, and the muscles all over his body were tense, as if it would erupt at any moment. Suddenly, the monitor lizard roared up to the sky, and a layer of pitch black and sticky light appeared on the surface of its body, while a wild roar came from its mouth, and a circle of ripples visible to the naked eye spread out. Under everyone's terrified gaze, the monitor lizard's already huge body rose tall again. In the blink of an eye, it exceeded a height of 10 meters, like a moving mountain. Groove. This Nimmer can jump over the city wall with a slight jump. Has this guy eaten golden garbage? He has grown so big. I feel that Long Ting Cho is big. It's going to be over. The onlookers were in an uproar, and they all showed a terrified expression. This Nimmer is too exaggerated. Roar. The monitor lizard raised its head sharply and roared towards the wall ahead. A powerful sound wave swept out, as if the actual sound wave directly enveloped the entire city, and the deafening sound filled every inch of the space. The terrifying power swept the audience, and in the tide of corpses, countless green slaves fell to their knees one after another. As if to welcome the birth of the king, the surrounding zombies crawled on the ground, shivering. It's kind of interesting. It really broke through. Mu-Yun stared at the big guy in front of him, his eyes full of fierceness. Ready. When the words fell, Mu-Yun jumped up first. The rest of the people followed Mu-Yun's left and right, and jumped out towards the outside of the city wall. Chuan Tian and I deal with the big guy. Zhang Li, you lead someone to quickly destroy those 4 mutant green slaves. Chu Yu pays attention. To support at any time. Bei Zishu and Zion Yi clean up the surrounding corpse tide. Yi Hanyu takes care of Coco. Yes. Mu-Yun gave an order, and several silhouettes swept out one after another, each showing their powers. For a while, the battle on the side of the monitor lizard instantly began. Roar. The monitor lizard roared angrily, and its scarlet eyes locked on Mu-Yun and Chuan Tian, who flew straight in. Ultimate flash. Boom. Chuan Tian started with a big move. A dazzling beam of light suddenly burst out, with an indestructible sharpness, and slammed into the body of the monitor lizard. The violent collision caused a violent vibration, and the powerful impact caused all the nearby greenskin monsters to explode. The terrifying pillar of light pushed the huge body of the monitor lizard and kept receding. The battle between them must have been fierce and unusually fierce to avoid reaching the base, which repelled them. Mu-Yun was not idle, and the absolute realm suddenly expanded, directly shrouding the monitor lizard in it. As soon as his mind moved, the mountain-like body was forcibly lifted by Mu-Yun and thrown fiercely into the distance. Boom. The monitor lizard fell heavily and smashed countless buildings. For a moment, the sky was full of dust and smoke. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 156. Ho. Seeing that his king was overthrown by 2 moves, the 4 mutant green slaves let out a roar and prepared to step forward. But before they could approach Mu-Yun, Zhang Li and the others had already intercepted in front of them. Zhang Lan, the golden one is handed over to you. Zhang Lan nodded, no nonsense, stepped hard under his feet, and the whole person was like an off-string arrow towards the golden green slave punched. Bella crisp and loud collision sounded, and the golden-eyed green slave actually carried her a blow, but her entire body was directly blasted out 20 or 30 meters away. Zhang Lan followed closely, and at this moment, it seemed that she was the real monster. Facing the golden green slave was a fierce output. Yun Yun to deal with that water system, Fan Zioki and Liu Meng to deal with the wood system, healing, Ou Hang Hang to deal with the fire system. Understood. X5 Zhang Li, as the battlefield commander, gave an order, and the 5 people found their opponents in a few flashes. Soon, the battle became clearer. Zion Yi moved the power storm, and the small minions with a radius of 100 meters were instantly swept away. In the face of the endless tide of corpses, Bei Zishu descended like a thunder god, and the blue electric rays around him wrapped around his body. With the assistance of Zion Yi Nanli, it slowly hangs high in the air. With thunder, shatter the dark. Rolling thunder descended from the 9 heavens, carrying the momentum of destroying everything towards the tide of corpses. In an instant, a large number of green slaves disappeared under the heavenly thunder and turned into nothingness. Bai's issue stood in midair looking down at all living beings, his eyes cold and cold. For a moment, on the battlefield, there were electric flints, and all kinds of brilliant powers rose and fell one after another. Above the city wall, Niu Dazayan looked at the battle situation below, and couldn't help but complain. Good guy, it doesn't seem like we're doing anything. Niu Dazayan touched his nose, his face full of helplessness. The captains of the various large and small teams next to him were a little anxious when they heard this. Captain, don't you say that you should make points together? If it goes on like this, all the points will be snatched away by this group of women. That's right, I'm still going to go to Fenglao tonight. Shut, Captain. Everyone opened their mouths one after another, looking at Niu Dazayan with burning eyes. Listening to everyone's request, Niu Dazayan frowned and pondered for a moment. Good. In the end, Niu Dazayan nodded and agreed. Brothers, go with the old cow, let's grab the points. Niu Dazayan laughed and jumped off the city wall first. Kill. Dear sisters, the old cow will also come to share a piece of the pie, don't mind. With Niu Dazayan's words, the captains of the other large and small teams also quickly jumped down from the city wall. They had all broken through the 4th order powers, and the 30-meter high city wall could not kill them. However, those team members did not have this ability, and could only be killed from the city gate. For a time, the shouts of killing under the city wall shook the sky, and various attacks frantically poured towards the distant tide of corpses. Zhao Yi, as the captain of the city guard, naturally wanted to stay and defend the city wall, and helplessly, he could only look at Niu Dazayan and the others with envy. The forces watching the play at the edge of the city wall were a little dumbfounded at the moment. Where is the tide of corpses coming? It is simply bandits entering the village. The combat power of the Dragon Court is simply not too fierce, and the 1000 vs million corpse tide was actually defeated by them, and they didn't give the corpse tide the slightest chance to counterattack. The battle under the city wall became more and more intense, and the battle situation on Mu Yun's side was also fierce. Mu Yun and Chuan Tian united together, cooperated with tacit understanding, and fought the monitor lizard one by one. Boom, the terrifying pillar of light slammed into the monitor lizard again with a momentum like a broken bamboo, knocking it over several meters. Black light that breaks down everything. Red laser that is more than 5000 degrees. Frozen blue light that is absolutely zero. The brilliant and colorful light cut through the sky, and it was a wild bombardment against the huge lizard. Regardless of the power of these beams, wherever the light passes, whatever is reduced to nothingness. The monitor lizard's defense is amazing, and it can easily carry the bombardment of missiles, but it cannot withstand the attack of the beam. In just a few minutes, the monitor lizard was covered in scales, its flesh and skin cracked, and blood flowed. Whoosh, the monitor lizard wailed in pain, his eyes were scarlet, and his mouth was open enough to swallow a bungalow, extremely resentful. Roar. The next moment, I saw it hissing up to the sky, its huge body squirmed, and its scarred body recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. Huh. So resilient? Mu Yun frowned slightly. This monitor lizard's recovery ability was beyond his expectations. Husband, this guy is a little difficult. The two were hanging high in the air under the blessing of the field, and Chuan Shan stared at the monitor lizard with a slight frown and said, "This lizard has no elemental skills. It should have eaten the fruit of the flesh system, so it can grow this size." Mu Yun touched his chin and calmly analyzed. Recovering from injuries quickly should be the ability it acquires when it breaks through the 6th order. So what to do? Chuan Shan Xiu's eyebrows locked. This guy has thick skin and flesh, and he can't lose it in seconds. Don't worry, as long as it is a creature, there is a weakness. You try again. Let me think about it. The corner of Mu Yun's mouth outlined an evil smile. Chuan Tian looked at his appearance and couldn't help but glance at him. At this time, he should not be a man rushing ahead. How come he has become a wife charging when he arrives, and his husband shouts to cheer? The next moment, she raised her hand, and a circle of lilac lines appeared on her arm. With Chuan Tian's strength, the lines gradually spread towards the skin of the whole body, and soon, even her beautiful face was covered with a layer of purple patterns. As soon as the lilac pattern appeared, Chuan Tian's body emitted a strange fluctuation. A monarching temperament bloomed from her, as if a stunning female emperor had descended to the mortal world. "Oh, this is your new skill of the 6th order?" Mu Yun raised his eyebrows and looked at Chuan Tian with interest. No, this is called the Dance of Purple Thorns, a skill that allows me to use the 5-color divine light to the extreme. It's in good shape, and I'll feel it tonight. Mu Yun approached Chuan Tian with an evil smile. Bah, it's not serious. Chuan Tian's pretty face turned slightly red, and she glared at him coquettishly, but she did not refuse. After speaking, her hands were folded, and the 5-colored divine light came out through her body, slowly gathering above Chuan Tian's head. A colorful mass of light condensed, and the surrounding air seemed to become restless. Gradually, the light gathered more and more, and the color became more and more intense. The dazzling light even overshadowed the sun in the sky, illuminating the entire battlefield. Roar. The monitor lizard let out a harsh roar, and there was a trace of fear in its pupils, as if it sensed danger. Not only it, but also the surrounding zombies also stopped in an instant, staring at this dazzling light mass in a daze. An inexplicable feeling of heart palpitations lingered in their minds, as if this mass of light had the power to destroy the world and the earth. Chapter 157. The monitor lizard sensed the dangerous aura and turned around to flee here, but how could Mu Yun let it succeed? Confinement. Only listening to a low sound came. The scope of the field suddenly expanded, directly fixing its huge body in place. The monitor lizard struggled, but could not move for half a minute, and the sense of oppression shrouded in death became stronger. Mu Yun was also uncomfortable at the moment. After all, to trap such a behemoth, the spiritual energy in his body was rapidly consuming. Condensation. Chuan Tian drank fiercely, and the light suddenly contracted. The volume of the photophore gradually decreases, but the light becomes more and more powerful. Finally, when the photophore was the size of a basketball, Chuan Tian's right hand suddenly pressed down, and he spat lightly in his mouth. Go. The ball of light fell sharply, slamming into the belly of the monitor lizard with a destructive and decaying attitude, and burst open. For a time, the blood mist filled the sky, the wind picked up, and the dust filled the air. A violent explosion resounded in the sky, and terrifying ripples of energy overturned all the surrounding buildings. Endless dust covers the sky, as if the end is coming. Chuan Tian felt a collapse, and fell weakly in Mu Yun's arms, obviously falling into a weak state, after exerting all his energy. Are you alright? Mu Yun asked worriedly. Also, okay. Chuan barely pulled a smile on his pale face, and shook his head. Don't do this risky thing next time. Mu Yun looked at her distressingly. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing, and it's not with you. As soon as the words fell, Mu Yun suddenly tensed his nerves and suddenly looked down. None of this is dead. Mu Yun frowned and muttered. At this time, the figure of the monitor lizard slowly walked out from the smoke. I saw that its whole body was covered in blood. A huge hole had appeared in its abdomen. Its intestines and internal organs were spilled all over the ground, and its white bones were exposed, obviously seriously injured. But surprisingly, even though he was seriously injured, he still did not die. At this time, it opened its mouth, revealing its sharp teeth, and its murderous gaze stared at Mu Yun and the two. Roar, roar. With several low roars, it suddenly jumped into the air, and rushed towards the two with its claws. Zing. At this moment, the dragon court sword was unsheathed, and Mu Yun jumped forward to meet it, and the long sword cut through the air, and collided with the claws of the monitor lizard. In an instant, sparks splashed everywhere, and the dragon court sword rubbed against the sharp claws, producing an unpleasant scorched smell. Roar, roar. The monitor lizard roared angrily. Its eyes were red, and its body exuded terrifying killing intent. The vitality is really tenacious. Mu Yun pinched his sword finger, and placed Chuan Tian on the dragon court sword. The dragon court sword let out a sword groan, as if knowing the owner's intention, and directly carried Chuan Tian towards the city wall behind him. You be careful. Chuan Tian reminded. Don't worry, your husband is powerful. Mu Yun responded, and his figure quickly swept to the monitor lizard's side, and punched out at the scollard eyes the size of a copper bell. Sturdy. Accelerate. Blessed by the absolute realm, Mu Yun's fists were like iron fists equipped with motors. Mu Yun opened his bow left and right, and instantly punched dozens of punches. Each punch contained the power of 1,000 shots, and the power was extremely strong. Bang bang bang. A series of muffled sounds came out, and one of the monitor lizard's eyes was directly blasted. Whoosh. The monitor lizard roared up to the sky, hissing in pain, and the juice of its right eye flew everywhere. Miserable. Mu Yun chased after the victory, taking advantage of his illness to kill him. Water come. Mu Yun raised his arms high, and in an instant, a huge wave appeared out of thin air, carrying a terrifying power, and swept towards the monitor lizard. Boom. The water flowed fiercely, drowning the entire body of the monitor lizard. Absolutely frozen. Mu Yun drank violently again, and the water flow was mixed with a trace of frost, which instantly covered the body of the monitor lizard. Click. Click. Layers of ice crystals formed on the body of the monitor lizard, and it was frozen in the huge wave in an instant. Mu Yun stepped out in one step. Sword come. The dragon court sword returned to the battlefield in an instant, after sending Chuantian back to the city, and the sharp blade flashed with a cold light, stabbing straight towards the big hole in the belly of the monitor lizard. Great. Arg. The dragon court sword transformed into a giant sword, and the huge force pierced through the belly of the monitor lizard, and finally penetrated the entire abdominal cavity, protruding from the other side. Roar. The monitor lizard howled mournfully, and its body struggled violently, but it could not get rid of the ice at all. Mu Yun hooked his hand against the dragon court sword, and the giant sword slowly returned to its normal size, and flew back into Mu Yun's hand. Lying groove, I report. This person opens. Why can this person use so many powers? INV. No, I don't believe it. Mental power, water, ice, gigantic, lean. Why is my power only 5 centimeters longer underneath? Is this the true strength of the city lord? That's awesome. The melon-eating masses on the city wall were frightened by Mu Yun's strength and expressed their imbalance one after another. But Mu Yun ignored it. This is not dead. How much blood is there? Mu Yun stared at the struggling monitor lizard and cursed. Don't look at his cool combo just now. To abuse the monitor lizard. In fact, the energy consumption in his body is also very serious. Although the absolute realm is easy to say, the consumable is also extremely terrifying. If Mu Yun had 10th order energy at this moment, his backhand would be a nuclear explosion to end the battle, but his blue energy was not enough. The monitor lizard is still struggling desperately, trying to break free from the ice. Mu Yun's eyes dripped and turned. Since attacking the body had little effect, he would directly hit the yellow dragon. Directly dig out this guy's psionic crystal nucleus, and see if it will die at that time. General psionic crystal nuclei are located in the minds of creatures, but the body defense of monitor lizards is amazing. Chuantian's big Ivan only exploded a big hole, and Mu Yun's desire to penetrate the solid skull was obviously a little difficult. In that case, Mu Yun gritted his teeth, and rushed directly towards the wound in the belly of the monitor lizard. A flash, directly into the belly of the monitor lizard, groped along the wound. Rip and pull. Mu Yun held the dragon court sword, and rammed through the monitor lizard's body, leaving one hideous scar after another along the way. Roar. The monitor lizard hissed in pain, and twisted its body frantically, but it couldn't move for half a minute, when it was frozen in ice. Mu Yun walked all the way towards the head of the monitor lizard. When passing by the heart, he paused, and immediately decisively pulled out the dragon court sword, and stabbed it into the heart of the monitor lizard. Poof. Green blood sprayed out, and a rich rancid smell wafted out. But even if Mu Yun chopped the monitor lizard's heart to pieces, it was still alive. Think about it, even if the green slave has no heart, won't he live well? Therefore, Mu Yun continued to go deeper, and went straight to the spiritual energy crystal nucleus of the monitor lizard. As long as the spiritual energy crystal nucleus was taken away, the monitor lizard would definitely die. Chapter 158. As Mu Yun moved forward, he finally came to the mind of the monitor lizard. Mu Yun reached in without hesitation, and groped in a pile of disgusting brain pulp. The sticky juice and the stench of rotting made Mu Yun's stomach churn. Forced to endure the discomfort, finally, found it after 2 minutes. An excited smile appeared on Mu Yun's face, and he grabbed the fist-sized spiritual energy crystal nucleus with both hands, and pulled it out. As soon as it was pulled out, the monitor lizard suddenly let out a violent scream, and its huge body suddenly trembled, as if it was experiencing some terrifying nightmare. Whoosh! The monitor lizard's mournful wail was deafening, its last cry before death. Bang! With a loud bang, the monitor lizard crashed to the ground, and the ice that imprisoned him shattered. Poof! Yun cut through the flesh that had been loosened, burrowed out of the monitor lizard corpse, and took a big breath of fresh air. It's disgusting. At the moment, his body was covered with disgusting things, and there was a slight fishy smell, but he finally killed the monster. With the 7th order crystal nucleus in his hand, as long as he made up enough of the corresponding white fruit, Yun could start to break through the 6th order. At that time, with his current strength, even if he encounters an 8th order mutant beast, he will not need to be afraid. Yun set his gaze on the head of the monitor lizard, ready to dig out the flesh strengthening stone of the monitor lizard's eyebrows. Although this thing can't be used by itself, the energy in it is enough to improve the skill effect of the flesh power. Give it to Afu. Maybe you can become the same as this big fellow, and you can't die. After doing this, Yun got up and flew back to the base wall. The battlefield under the city wall had long been over, and the 4 mutant green slaves were easily solved by everyone. Without the command of the monitor lizard, the tide of corpses in the distance gradually stopped and began to wander around again. When everyone saw Yun's return, they immediately burst into enthusiastic cheers. The City Lord is awesome. Hahaha, a big lizard. What's going on with the City Lord's opponent? Listening to everyone's cheers, Yun did not show any smug looks. Base don't 6. Coming to the city wall, Chuantian and the others were just about to surround them, but they smelled the fishy smell and rot on Yun's body, and several girls immediately covered their noses and fled quickly. Looking at the few sisters who fled from the desert, Yun scratched his head in embarrassment. Is it really that disgusting in my own body, husband, or you better go take a shower first? Okay, together? Forget it. Chuantian silently took 2 steps back. You're not usually very positive. Who is positive? Don't talk nonsense. Looking at Chuantian's coquettish appearance, Yun was straight, and then turned around and flew towards the castle. Looking at Yun's back as he left, everyone around him suddenly booed. My brother-in-law is an old color batch. What is an old color batch? Coco tilted her head and asked with a dumbfounded look. This Chuyu was poured down by the innocent Coco. It's a very bad person. So, are the bad guys old color batches? Coco blinked and asked again. Almost. Oh. Hearing the answer, Coco nodded, as if he understood. Everyone. After washing the filth on his body, Yun changed his clothes and went out again. After smelling the body, I don't know if it is a psychological effect, and I always feel that the smell has not dissipated. So, Yun took the perfume that Chuantian commonly used and sprayed himself with half a bottle. This perfume has a light but natural fragrance, high-end elegance, understated luxury. She is worthy of being her own woman, and her taste is really high. Back at the city wall, everyone is cleaning the battlefield. Sacks and sacks of crystal nuclei were constantly being transported to the base. The forces that had seen the excitement before had disappeared, and after seeing the powerful strength of the Dragon Court, they must have become relatively honest for a long time in the future. At the same time, the news that the 7th Order mutant beast was easily killed by the City Lord began to spread throughout the base. As soon as this news came out, the entire base suddenly fire. The City Lord actually has such strong strength? It's worthy of the Dragon Court. This protection fee is too worthwhile. That is, say nothing in the future. For a time, there was a group of forces in the mission hall who came to buy real estate. Originally, they just planned to avoid the limelight in the Dragon Court and left the base to develop themselves. As soon as the limelight passed, rather make chicken heads than phoenix tails. Instead of being a small force inside the base, it is better to go outside and be a soil emperor. Such thoughts abound. It can be seen that, after seeing the true power of the Dragon Court and the horror of that 7th Order lizard, these forces were all intimidated. It's better to die than to live. If such a terrifying giant beast appears again and again, they don't have the ability to deal with it. As a result, housing prices in the base suddenly soared, and demand was a bit in short supply. After all, the buildings in Area C are only half built, which is not enough to accommodate so many people. But even if they sleep in tents, these people have to buy a residence permit in advance. Everyone knows that in the future, the housing prices in the Lanting base will definitely rise, and the sooner you start, the more cost effective. for these. Mu-Yun did not pay attention, and everything was left to Sister Lan to operate. Now, standing on the city wall, he felt a cool breeze, which seemed out of place in the hot summer. Strange, this weather is not right. Looking at the sky, clouds and clouds, Mu-Yun muttered. Achu on the side suddenly sneezed, then tightened the shawl on his body, and muttered, "How do you feel? That winter has suddenly arrived." Winter? Mu-Yun was slightly stunned, and then frowned. Could it be that extreme cold is coming? Counting the time, a month has passed since the green tide hit. Mu-Yun knew that after the beginning of the end times, a kind of natural disaster would appear every other month. Although the extreme heat of the first month was replaced by black rain, according to the experience of the previous life, the next natural disaster is almost coming. Judging from today's unusual weather, it is estimated that 8 or 9 are not far from 10. Yihan-Ayu, contact Kinyu. We need a lot of coal and gasoline. Yihan-Ayu, who had black circles under her eyes, was a little dazed when she heard this. What do you mean? She didn't understand what coal and gasoline were needed. And the wall can't wait for the Kin family to be a family. Winter is approaching, and there is not much time left for us. Chapter 159. Winter is coming. Xenshu and Tian and the others were all dumbfounded when they listened to Mu-Yun's words. Winter is coming. What the hell? We are not called the city that never sleeps. Yes, winter is coming, and we need to be prepared. Mu-Yun nodded and explained seriously. Every month a natural disaster strikes, and you can now feel the sudden drop in temperature, which is a harbinger of extreme cold. We need to gather enough resources as soon as possible. -100 degrees is not a joke. In Mu-Yun's view, the green tide is not a disaster at all, but gives mankind hope to become stronger. On the contrary, it is a harsh natural disaster, and it is easiest to eliminate human beings. Looking at Mu-Yun's serious face, everyone understood that this was not a joke. I thought the city wall was too high, that's why I felt cold. It turned out that winter was coming. Chuyu touched his arm and trembled a little. City Lord, what about the matter of the military base? This wave of corpses is obviously premeditated. Zhongli on the side asked in a deep voice. Her words caught everyone's attention. Yes, although the corpse tide and mutant beasts were easily solved by them, it was because the strength of the dragon court was strong enough. If Mu-Yun and Xuantian had not broken through, they would definitely not be the opponents of the monitor lizard. If the military base does this, it is likely to lead to the collapse of the dragon court. This beam is bigger. Looking in the direction of the military base, Mu-Yun's expression gradually became gloomy. It's okay, they won't be able to bounce for long. Prepare for the arrival of extreme cold first. Mu-Yun indifferently gave the order, his eyes flashing with a palpitating light. Got it. Zhongli and the others answered in unison, turned and retreated. The fierce wind swept through, blowing the bangs scattered in front of Mu-Yun's forehead, revealing a pair of cold and deep eyes. The first 20 of the sequence should have arrived. Whispered, and the corner of Mu-Yun's mouth raised an evil and enchanting smile. Yang Chen, you asked for this. Kyoto Courtyard. Li Yi, who was dressed in a Taoist uniform, was talking in front of Kinyu. Brother Kinyu, I heard that a beast emperor recently appeared in Shinangjia. What do you say that guy looks like? I don't know. Kinyu glanced at her and said casually. Li Yi pouted and continued to ask, your Kin family is so powerful, how could you not know? I don't know. The same 3 words again. Li Yi rolled his eyes in frustration. Brother Kinyu, I lost mine like this. Kinyu drank the tea calmly, ignoring Li Yi's next chatter. Li Yi's eyes widened, and after a long while, he sighed and sat back resignedly. Dead straight man. Kinyu raised his eyes to look at her. You want to go? Well, I heard that the Beast Emperor is very powerful. I want to see it. Li Yi immediately nodded like pounding garlic, staring at Kinyu with excitement in his eyes. Kinyu raised his eyebrows slightly, as if he was considering something, and slowly shook his head after a moment. Nope. Why? Li Yi instantly collapsed his face with a mournful expression. Your master said, don't let you out of Kyoto. After Kinyu finished speaking, he found a message coming from his mobile phone, prefixed with the word Dragon Court. Sogu ignored Li Yi's entanglement and walked out, leaving her wailing in the house. Dead old man. I'm going to betray the division. After getting rid of Lee, Kinyu came all the way to the Central Operations Command. It wasn't far from the courtyard, and it didn't take long for him to reach his destination. He walked straight towards his grandfather's office. As soon as I opened the door, I heard my grandfather's hearty laughter. Haha, not bad. These little rabbits have improved very quickly. Kinyu looked up and saw that his grandfather was standing in front of the sand table, praising the person in front of him, while holding a pen and sketching something on the paper. Grandpa! Kinyu shouted and walked in front of the old man. Zio, is something wrong? The old man put down the brush in his hand and looked up and asked. Kinyu nodded and then looked at the other person in the room. It was a man of about 50 or 60 years old, with an ordinary appearance, but he revealed a mighty and domineering spirit of a soldier. He wore a camouflage training uniform, with a straight waist, like a sheathed sword, sharp and unsighted, making people dare not look directly. Uncle Zhao is good. Kinyu said hello. Zhao Wenbo bowed his head slightly and nodded at him. Zhao, what are you doing here this time? The old man looked at Kinyu suspiciously. His grandson rarely came to find him, but every time he came, something big happened. Grandpa, it's new news from the Dragon Court. Kinyu didn't talk nonsense and went straight to the point. Oh. The old man suddenly became interested. What new news? About the arrival of a new natural disaster. Kinyu was silent for a moment, slowly spitting out a few words. New natural disaster? The old man and Zhao Wenbin's faces suddenly became serious. Be specific. I don't know the specifics. Kinyu scratched his head. They say that one news is exchanged for 100 tons of materials, and as for what materials, they have the final say. The old man narrowed his eyes slightly when he heard this and fell into deep thought. These bastards, they actually take advantage of the fire and rob it this time. Zhao Wenbin slapped the table fiercely and scolded angrily. He is a true soldier because he puts the righteousness of the country and the nation first. For the country and the people, he is a real hero. But for his daughter in her 20s, he was just an incompetent father. If you lose the world, you will not live up to the secretary, and you are worthy of the world, but you are sorry for the secretary. The two, it has nothing to do with right or wrong, the choice is different. In Zhao Wenbin's heart, the most important thing is to destroy monsters and save more survivors. So at this moment, he was very disgusted with this approach of the Dragon Court. It is clear that it has the ability to save more people. Why not stand up? He does not understand. Qin Xianming saw his thoughts at a glance and waved his hand, signaling that he didn't need to be angry. How much food is stored in our country? The old man suddenly asked. Since Longting came to ask for supplies, he subconsciously thought that it was the most important food at the moment. After all, the food needed for the breakthrough of the supernatural is really exaggerated. Even if the government has the largest number of woodline superpowers in the world, it is completely insufficient for more than meat. Based on the current population of the country, it can last for 15 years, and if you save a little, you can last for 20 years at most. Although 100 tons of grain is not a problem for us now, no one knows what form it will take in the future. The food consumed by the breakthrough of the supernatural is increasing, and Zhao Wenbin's concern is not unreasonable. The old man pondered, looked up at Kinyu and asked, what do you think? Chapter 160. Acceptable. Kinyu agreed without hesitation. Tell me why. Grandpa, the news of black rain before allowed us to solve our urgent needs, and we also obtained a large number of crystal nuclei, which already explains the problem. Trading with Dragon Court, we don't lose money. Kinyu's tone was very affirmative. Haha, good. Hearing his grandson's words, the old man laughed 3 times. Then you can reply directly. I agree to this matter. The old man hit the nail on the head. Chief, wouldn't this be too hasty? Zhao Wenbin seemed to want to say something, but was interrupted by the old man. Are you teaching me to do things? Don't dare. Zhao Wenbin immediately bowed his head and confessed. Kinyu got the old man's reply and directly took out his mobile phone to reply. Ding dong. Soon, new news came. Winter is coming. 50 tons of coal. 50 tons of gasoline. Kinyu frowned slightly. As smart as he was, he quickly understood. The next natural disaster is related to the cold, and the reason why Dragon Court wants coal and gasoline is to prepare for this natural disaster. They have saved a lot of strategic materials such as coal and gasoline, and this price obviously makes them feel a lot better than 100 tons of grain. Zhao Zhao, do you know what to do? Understood, rest assured, Chief. Zhao Wenbin solemnly assured. Immediately, he did not dare to delay, and immediately began to arrange for the bases of all parties to prepare for the cold. But one thing has not changed, that is, the news cannot be disclosed to the Yang family. Although Zhao Wenbin is patriotic, he can clearly distinguish between right and wrong. If the request made by the Dragon Court is not fulfilled, once the cooperation is cancelled, more people are likely to die in the future. He still understood the truth of Shixiu Oda, so the news did not reach the Yang family. Coupled with Yi Hanayu's dark box manipulation, Yang Yi had no idea about the upcoming natural disaster at the moment. Inside the Dragon Court base, at this moment, the engineering team is busy building houses and must complete the project before the extreme cold arrives. Otherwise, the icy and snowy, those survivors living in the open roof will definitely not survive this winter. On the trading floor of the base, new trading items have also been introduced. 10 kilograms of clothing can be redeemed for 1 point. As for who these clothes are for, naturally these survivors are still these survivors. Dragon Court just made a difference. When the extreme cold really comes, the value of these clothes will definitely multiply. No way. Who made Mu Yun feel a little poor recently? Not being able to go out for a month means having no income for a month. So you have to take some wool from these survivors. Not only clothes, but also wood for heating, electric heaters, air conditioners and other home appliances are also being collected. At this moment, those forces in the base could not sit still. Now that almost all the monsters in the city have been cleaned up, it can be said that as long as there are some powerful forces, they can go to the city to collect these materials. That can be seen everywhere. It's just picking up money. So a grand $0 purchase was staged all over the city. Not only that, as the news of the lizard's extermination spread inside the military base, the survivor squads who were unlucky enough to be trapped in the military base left one after another. Their goals are the same, and they all come to the Dragon Court. There is no other reason. The Phoenix building is too fragrant. Both Longting and military bases can provide charging services, and anyone with a little money will charge their mobile phones. The bustling commercial street of the Dragon Court base was naturally spread by survivors who like to show off. Among them, the most attractive nature is the Phoenix Tower. Who doesn't like a gentle little sister? A touch of essential oil, heaven and earth. Of course, this is not the most critical. The main thing is that the strength of the Dragon Court is too strong. Even the 7th order mutant beasts can be easily destroyed. Such a safe and secure base, no one will refuse. Because the number of people leaving the base was too large, the military did not dare to stop it. If it causes mass riots, the consequences are unimaginable. Taking advantage of this opportunity, some survivors who originally wanted to leave, but the base did not let them go, took this opportunity to leave with the flow. In just one day's work, the 50,000 population of the military base plummeted to 15,000. Among them, 5,000 were Yang Chen subordinates, and the rest were old and weak women and children who had no combat ability. For Yang Chen, it was completely a bunch of burdens. Bang! In the office, the sound of tables, chairs, and benches being smashed resounded throughout the room. Traitor. It's all a pack of white-eyed wolves. Yang Chen's eyes were red, and his body exuded a strong murderous aura. Obviously, the problem of monitor lizards and corpse tides has been solved, and he should be happy. But the development of this step was something that Yang Chen did not expect at all. Old Yang, alas. Shen Liang was disappointed in Yang Chen at the moment. Not because the survivors left, but because of the more than 5,000 soldiers who died. In order to lure the monitor lizard, last night, a regiment of nearly 10,000 people. Now there are less than 5,000 people left. Such a loss is too great. Okay old Shen, let's say 2 words. At least our base is preserved. Zhang Di was comforting on the side. He knew that Shen Liang was uncomfortable. But what can they do? It's easy for you to say, after this incident, I'm afraid our base won't be able to hold it. Don't talk nonsense. Zhang Di glared at Shen Liang. HMPH, I'm talking nonsense. We and the beams of the Dragon Court base have been forged, and they may come to retaliate at any time. By that time, you tell me, what will happen to our base? Shen Liang roared. HMPH, come and come. We have the support of the entire Huaxia military, a Dragon Court, and dare to destroy us. Yang Chen gritted his teeth and said. He never took the Dragon Court to heart from beginning to end. What kind of storm can a non-governmental organization set off? Since the ancient people did not fight with officials, Yang Chen believed that anyone with a little brain would not fight with the military. Moreover, as long as the Yang family's reinforcement arrived, the Dragon Court was not afraid at all. Yang Chen gradually regained his composure and took out the mobile phone in his pocket, which was displayed by the text message. Father, don't panic. My Yang family's army is on the way here. You insist on persevering first. This was a message from his father yesterday, and Yang Chen believed that it would not be long before he could let those stupid survivors know how powerful their Yang family was. Ding dong. Another SMS pop-up window. Yang Chen clicked on it smoothly. Father, the army got lost on the road, delayed for a while, and you insisted on persevering. Seeing this, Yang Chen frowned slightly. This year is all satellite positioning navigation. How can he get lost? But since it was my father himself, he definitely wouldn't lie to himself. So he didn't care, just waited a little longer. It didn't hurt. Yang Chen, knowing your father, hurry up. Father, don't worry, my eldest son. Chapter 161. Inside the Dragon Court base. Yi Hanai looked at the content on the computer and was laughing. Haha, it's so fun, I accidentally got a lot more. Her stomach hurt with a smile, and the expression on her face was very pleasant. Recently, Yi Hanai sent 2 text messages to tease the Yang family father and son when she was fine. The two thought that the opposite of the mobile phone was their father and son, but in fact it was all played by Yi Hanai alone. Yi Hanai was also happy. Yang Chen, who was relieved, began to ponder the direction of the development of the base next. After pondering for a moment, he suddenly found that Chen Feng, who had often been beside him before, had disappeared today. He turned his head to look at Shen Liang and the two, where his little brother Chen Feng. Find him for a meeting. Shen Liang and the two did not talk nonsense, and immediately sent someone to find Chen Feng. But something happened that they didn't expect. 10 minutes later, a soldier hurriedly ran back to report. Report sir, Chen Feng is missing. Missing? Yang Chen was stunned. Someone just sent a message that Chen Feng left the base with a soldier last night, saying that he was going on a mission, and he never came back after that. Yang Chen narrowed his eyes. He didn't send Chen Feng any task. There was something strange. What about his sister Chenzi? In or not at the base? Chenzi is also missing, and the daily necessities, clothes, etc. in the room are also missing. These two brothers and sisters are gone, are they? Muttered Shen Liang. Yang Chen's gaze froze. He is not stupid. From all indications, the two siblings have left the base. Leaving at this special time period was already equivalent to an act of betrayal for Yang Chen. Yang Chen's face was gloomy, and his eyes flickered. Traitor, damn traitor, he said angrily, but there was nothing he could do. It doesn't matter without Chen Feng, but Chen Zi's healing ability is particularly important for the base. No matter what kind of illness, no matter what kind of injury, as long as it is illuminated by her holy light, it can be restored as before. The departure of the two made the already fragmented base even worse. Shen Liang sighed, patted Yang Chen's shoulder, and comforted. Forget it, no one is to blame for this incident. In fact, he really admired Chen Feng, but it's a pity. If only the regiment leader could have half the city government and foresight of Chen Feng's little brother. Yang Chen snorted coldly. Even if the two of their brothers and sisters saved his life, so what? Since Chen Feng dares to betray, then I must capture him back, and I must also get Chen Zi's ability. If the soft one doesn't work, then the hard one. Pass on my order. Send 4 teams to chase and kill Chen Feng, whether you live or die. But remember, you can't hurt Chen Zi. Yes, sir. With Yang Chen's order, the soldier at the door immediately took orders. Yang Chen, why is this? Shen Liang roared lowly, obviously a little angry. Yang Chen looked at Shen Liang coldly. How? Are you going to disobey military orders? Yang Chen, look at your current virtuous, impulsive, tyrannical, cruel. Where is that spirited major back then? Shen Liang looked heartbroken. Yang Chen scoffed. What do you know? That's all in the past. Now is the end times. Order is broken, civilization is severed, and you can only survive if you become stronger at all costs. His tone was sonorous, surprisingly rational and calm, as if he had recognized the current situation and knew what to do. You fart. Are you doing something worthy of this military uniform on your body? Sacrifice, dedication, protection. That is the responsibility of a soldier. You call this self-interest? Do you understand self-interest? You don't deserve this honor. Shen Liang's words pierced Yang Chen's chest like a knife. He clenched his fists and stared at Shen Liang through gritted teeth. Times have changed, old Shen. Shen Liang still wanted to say something, but Yang Chen directly called the soldier standing guard outside the door. Come, Staff Officer Shen has been in good health recently and sent the Chief of Staff back to the room to rest. His attitude was resolute and decisive, and he did not listen to Shen Liang to continue arguing. Liu Yang, what are you doing? Our friendship for so many years, it won't be impossible. Seeing that the situation was not right, Zhang Di hurriedly persuaded. HMPH. Liu Zhang, don't say it, Liu TZU is tired. Shen Liang flicked his sleeves away, unwilling to linger here. His eyes were cold, and there was a deep sadness hidden in the depths of his cloudy pupils. After he left, Zhang Di shook his head and said bitterly, old Shen is too stubborn. Liu Yang, you are too. You just leave this alone. Yang Chen interrupted him. Alas, it's a mess. Zhang Di sighed, turned away, and prepared to persuade Shen Liang. Night. The Dragon Court base is still full of red and green, lively, and noisy. Everyone didn't care much about the plummeting temperatures. After all, this level of cooling is a good thing for a hot summer. Li Huaqiang's engineering department was ordered to work overnight for the next few days to complete the remaining buildings as quickly as possible. At this moment, the construction site is still a hot scene. Although they didn't understand the city lord's intentions, they only did what the city lord ordered, and the reward they deserved would not be less. The other side. Inside a lifeless military base, the survivors lined up, and each received a thin bowl of white porridge. They all looked thin and malnourished. A bowl of porridge is simply not enough for adults, not to mention that they only have 2 meals a day, noon and evening. And one meal is less than another, and white porridge is becoming thinner and sparser day by day. Official, you can do well. My child is sick. Please give me more food. A woman knelt on the ground and kowtowed, wailing and pleading. HMPH. Every day hundreds of people say that their children are sick. Your trick is useless. Go and go. Don't hinder my work. The man glared at her fiercely, pushed her away, and waved his hand impatiently. The people around them avoided one after another, not wanting to get into trouble. No, I'm not leaving please. Okay, give us mother and son more food. The woman wept and prayed. What's the noise? If you attract the monsters outside, are you responsible? The man scolded viciously. When the woman heard this, she was instantly silent. She didn't dare to say anything more. Sitting pitifully on the side, holding a bowl of gruel in his hand, his eyes were red, and tears couldn't stop flowing. At this time, a black shadow flashed in front of her eyes. The woman looked at the 2 extra Snickers in her arms and was stunned. She looked up, but only saw a black after image disappear, instantly blending into the dark night. Chapter 162. What's going on? Just now. Is it an illusion? The woman murmured, and couldn't help but reach out and touch her arms. It's true that there are 2 more Snickers. It's true. She opened her mouth wide in surprise, then looked around with joy, and couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when she found that no one else had noticed this side. After that, he did not dare to linger, picked up the gruel, and ran towards his room. It was late at night, and the base was silent. Only a few offices were lit, showing how many people were still working. In a dark shadow somewhere, Zahi looked at the woman's disappearing back, and a touch of sadness flashed in her eyes. If his daughter is still alive. Thinking of this, she inexplicably gushed a sour feeling in her heart. No one, if the mission fails due to exposure just now, our losses will be very huge. A cold voice sounded, interrupting Zahi's thoughts. She turned her head, and in the shadows behind her was a woman who was similar to herself. Black combat uniform, night vision device, half mask, 2 tang knives on the back. The only difference is the token on the waist, which has the word 2 engraved on it. HMPH, the mission can't fail, it's a big deal to kill it all. Zahi sneered, his eyes full of disdain and bloodlust. Number 2 frowned when he heard this, and seemed to be extremely dissatisfied with her words. The sequence is 100, most of whom look at each other unfavorably. As the first to participate in the training, they spent every day fighting with each other, and more or less accumulated a little resentment. Especially Zahi, who was the first to get the token. In the second number, she was just lucky. Because of the abnormal mutation that led to a better physique, this was the victory of the first training. And she is the first person to stand out from the crowd of people who are of the same level. In short, the number 2 looks at how the number 1 looks, and how it is not pleasing to the eye. However, although the two did not look at each other well, the relationship did not become deadlocked. After all, they are all companions in the same camp, both prosperous and detrimental. Forget it, I'm too lazy to calculate with you. Number 2 waved his hand and turned away, ready to look for the target person this time. Looking at the figure of the other party disappearing into the darkness, Zahi's face was ancient. She doesn't know what happened to number 2, but she went through a vicious battle when she took revenge. He returned to the base with scars, a broken right arm, 8 broken ribs, and a machete stuck in his back, only 3 centimeters away from his heart. There were extensive burns on his body, and there were hideous scars all over his body. But even so, she persevered. After the treatment, she left the base again, and returned with injuries. This continued for 3 days, and I don't know which force was so unlucky to be targeted by this crazy woman. When she returned on the 5th day, she took a bag of crystal nuclei, and paid for Zioning's medical expenses. Obviously, that unknown force has been completely destroyed. Each of the top-ranked sequences was ruthless, and Mu Yun's inclination to their resources was the most exaggerated. Even her sister-in-law's evolutionary resources were obtained by herself, but Zahi and the others did not need it. The base provides any resources they need free of charge. They had only one task, and that was to complete the task given to them by Mu Yun, and there was no room for failure. This time I came to the military base. The first task was to collect intelligence on the other side. If the strength of the military base is too different from the envisioned, the beheading operation can be directly initiated. The target of number 2 is Chen Feng, while Zahi's target is Yang Chen. After an afternoon of probing by 20 of them, it was decided to carry out the beheading operation tonight. The strength of the military is simply not enough. Zahi even felt that she alone was enough to destroy all her high-level leaders. The only regret is that the whereabouts of Chen Feng and Chen Zi are unknown. It wasn't until just now that 4 squads left the base, and after inquiring, they learned that the 2 had defected. Chen Zi's status among the survivors was self-evident, and this matter quickly spread in the base, and it was not difficult to inquire about it. Now, number 2 and number 3 have no designated targets, and have to change their plans on a temporary basis. The 2 were responsible for dealing with the psychic squad, that is, Sun Jianguo's subordinates. In addition to the hundreds of people who left with Zhu Xiansheng, there were still many superpowers, and Yang Chen handed over to Chen Feng to lead. Later, when attacking the Z12 area, he encountered the monitor lizard, and lost more than 200 people. But even so, there are still 400 or 500 superpowers left. These people Mu Yun was not interested in recruiting, so he still killed directly. The special energy crystal nucleus obtained just now can create spiritual weapons for Emolin, which can be regarded as exhaustive. Seeing that number 2 began to act, Zahi did not stay in place. She quietly lurked away and walked towards Yang Chen's bedroom. Located below the stadium stands, the bedroom, originally a room for athletes to rest and change clothes, was partly converted into an office, and partly as a bedroom for important figures. Yang Chen's bedroom is in the innermost room, and the walkway outside can be described as heavily guarded. Under such close guard, it is not difficult to sneak in. Fortunately, there is a ventilation duct above the walkway, so if you are careful, you can enter the room. According to the plan, Zahi easily entered the pipeline. I saw her cautiously creeping forward inside the pipe, approaching the room step by step. Just as she was passing by Shen Liang's room, she suddenly heard a conversation from below. Lao Shen, you dissipate your anger. Although Lao Yang's approach is a little extreme, but he is also for our base. HMPH. He is doing this for his own selfish desires, and what he is thinking about now is how to consolidate his position. We are soldiers, not politicians, and it is a duty to fight bloody battles and defend our country. Look at the methods he is using now to bring disaster to the east and eradicate dissidents. Is this what a qualified soldier should do? Zhang Di was shocked by Shen Liang's impassioned words. Such a righteous ideological consciousness made Zhang Di can't help but recall those days when he first stepped into the army. You have a point. Zhang Di hesitated and said, but you can enlighten old Yang well. Why do you have to be so blunt? Enlightened? Huh? I said he could hear it. Shen Liang said angrily. Zahi in the pipeline quickly understood the ins and outs of the matter. Shen Liang, as one of the high-level officials of the military base, must be on the beheading list. But the words just now made Zahi feel that such a person should not die. In the last days, there are not many people who can stick to their nature and be faithful to their duties. Such a person deserves respect. After thinking about it, she still decided to report this matter to Mu Yun. The decision was not in her hands. She was now just a sharp knife of the Dragon Court. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 163. Through the transmission of his mind, Zahi transmitted what he had just heard to Mu Yun. Inside the Dragon Court base, Mu Yun looked at the night outside the window and fell into deep thought. He didn't know much about the situation in the Dawn base in his previous life, and he didn't know what had happened to the base in the 3 years since the beginning of the end times. He had never heard the names of Zhang Di and Shen Liang. If you extrapolate according to the current situation, these two people are likely to be eliminated by Yang Chen. Yang Chen, this person is also too stupid. How long has it been in the last days? Two capable generals have defected, and there has been infighting among comrades for many years. If there is no support from the Yang family, it is nothing. In my previous life, I was actually brought to death by this kind of guy, and I was really, alas. Mu Yun let out a long sigh and made changes to the decapitation action. Sequence 1 to 20 hearings. Plan change. Collect intelligence on everyone in the base. Only kill those who have malicious intent on the Dragon Court, and give you 2 days. Obey. X20. After receiving Mu Yun's latest order, Zahi ignored Shen Liang and the two, and went straight to Yang Chen's room. The room is very single, just a mattress, a desk, a wardrobe. Zahi jumped down from the pipe, restored the ventilation cover, and hid in the closet. Yang Chen's identity does not need to be confirmed. He is a person who must be killed. For Yang Chen in this life, Mu Yun had lost interest. The pattern is different. If it weren't for him luring the monitor lizard to attack the Dragon Court, Mu Yun wouldn't have bothered to take care of this guy. But since he is looking for death himself, he can't blame anyone. Simply kill directly. 100. As for the Yang family's side, with Yi Han Yu dragging it, no one knows even if Yang Chen dies. An hour later. Click. The door was opened, and Yang Chen entered the room with a gloomy face. Through the gap in the wardrobe, Zahi watched Yang Chen come to the bed and start untying his clothes. Looking at his well-defined muscles, Zahi had no waves in his heart. She already knew the man's body structure very well. After all, he had dissected it several times. For her, what was now in front of her was just a corpse. The waiting time is ticking off. When Yang Chen lay down on the bed naked, the lights in the room went out. It is a closed room with no windows. After the lights were turned off, the room was suddenly dark. Zahi adjusted his breathing to the minimum, clutching a sharp dagger in his hand, ready to strike. She was ready to solve Yang Chen directly in the most concise and neat way, after he fell asleep. Suddenly, a dangerous omen surfaced in Yang Chen's heart. He suddenly opened his eyes and sat up. Although Zahi couldn't see his expression clearly, he could feel the cold killing intent that Yang Chen exuded at this moment. Like ice and snow in the cold winter moon, Yang Chen slowly stretched out his hand and touched it towards the wardrobe. Zahi held his breath, feeling that the other party was getting closer and closer to him. When the palm was about to touch the wardrobe, Zahi moved suddenly. Zahi instantly pushed open the wardrobe door and stabbed Yang Chen in the chest. However, Yang Chen obviously noticed it as well, and his figure quickly retreated, narrowly avoiding this fatal sword. "Who are you?" Bang. Ding. Gunshots rang out. Zahi reacted quickly, directly turned on the power, and turned into a diamond man form. A bullet hit her forehead and was directly ejected, and by the spark emitted by the shot, Yang Chen's position was undoubtedly exposed. Zahi did not stop for the slightest, taking advantage of Yang Chen's stunned effort, and stabbed into Yang Chen's abdomen. Poof! A large mouthful of blood gushed out. Ugh! Yang Chen screamed. The old saying, that kills you while you're sick is not wrong at all. Zahi seized the opportunity to pull out the dagger, and it was another sword. Poof! Ugh! Poof! Ugh! Poof! Ugh! The sound of rhythmic daggers piercing through flesh and skin was endless, accompanied by Yang Chen's screams echoing in the room. Not good. The regiment commander is in danger. The noise in the room alarmed the guards outside. The guards rushed in, but what they saw was a miserable picture. Yang Chen lay on the bed with a painful face, covering his bleeding abdomen. Zahi stabbed a total of 4 times, and then in order not to be exposed, he entered the ventilation duct before the guards rushed into the room. "Regiment commander, regiment commander. Come on, the regiment commander has been assassinated." The injuries on Yang Chen's body were too serious, and the blood in his mouth gushed out like a spring. He barely lifted his head and pointed to the ventilation duct overhead. "Leave me alone. Pursue the enemy." "Yes. Quick." The guards hurriedly ran out. Ahem. Ahem. Yang Chen coughed violently. A wisp of bright red overflowed the corner of his mouth. "Maid, leave someone to take care of me." Yang Chen cursed secretly. He felt that he was about to die. His head was groggy, and his eyes couldn't even see clearly. He tried to open his eyelids to look around, but his vision was blurred badly. "Am I going to die here like this? I'm not willing." Just when Yang Chen was angry in his heart, he suddenly heard a slight sound of footsteps coming into his ears. Huh? Who is approaching? This kind of footsteps is very strange. It seems to come from far and near, but it seems to be whispered in the ear. "Save. Help me," Yang Chen said weakly. "I'm sorry, I'm here to mend the knife." An indifferent voice came from Yang Chen's ears. Poof! The dagger pierced through the chest, and blood flowed everywhere. Ugh! Yang Chen let out a roar. "Who the hell are you?" "Oh, I just won't tell you." Zahi laughed disdainfully, then pulled out his dagger and re-drilled into the ventilation duct. Blood flowers continued to appear on Yang Chen's chest, and he stared at the ceiling with wide eyes. He remembered the running in the sunset, his lost youth. Liao Yang, Zhang Di and Shen Liang were late when they heard the movement. Looking at his former comrades in arms, Yang Chen still wanted to say something, but the heart was punctured unless Chen Zi could appear at this time. But unfortunately, this was not possible. Under the gaze of Shen Liang and Zhang Di, Yang Chen's hand covering the wound slowly lowered. His pupils began to dilate, and his mouth opened and closed. "I don't want to die. Still." Before he finished speaking, Yang Chen's pupils were completely dilated, and he lost his vitality. "Old Yang." Zhang Di howled sadly and threw himself beside Yang Chen. His eyes split. Although the two had a big fight just now, he never expected that in the blink of an eye, Yang Chen actually died in front of him. Liao Yang. "Commander, what are you doing, Commander?" He held Yang Chen's corpse and couldn't believe his eyes. Chapter 164. With Yang Chen being assassinated, it seemed to have sounded some kind of signal. There was a commotion throughout the base. The 2 battalion commanders, Li Qiang and Zhao He, as Yang Chen's most loyal subordinates, did not escape the fate of being assassinated. Several other battalion commanders were also killed, but none of them saw the true appearance of the murderer. This strange way of dying made the soldiers at the base panic. Zahi and the others lurk in the base like ghosts, and as long as they confirm that the target person meets the conditions for assassination, they will act immediately. For a while, There was panic in the military base. For all this, Mu-Yun, as the black hand behind the scenes, did not know anything. He was already lying comfortably on the bed at the moment, and the beauty fell asleep. Following, Mu-Yun stretched and got up from the bed. You can clearly feel that the temperature has dropped a few points. If yesterday there was 30 degrees during the day, today it has dropped at least 5 degrees. This temperature is already the most comfortable temperature in autumn. The cool breeze blew by, making Mu-Yun extremely comfortable, and even his pores couldn't help but open. Unfortunately, such weather can only last for a day or two. Poof, a propeller hum from far and near caught Mu-Yun's attention. This Kinfamily's efficiency can be, it was sent so quickly. Mu-Yun muttered, and Chuan-Tian also woke up passively, and the two walked out of the castle after a simple wash. Pushing open the door, 30 large transport planes flew through the sky, followed by dozens of large airdrops. A helicopter is parked in the square, and 3 soldiers are waving signal buttons to locate the transport plane. Boom. Thanks to Yi Hanayu's use of magical interference, dozens of airdrop packages landed accurately. Seeing Mu-Yun's arrival, the soldier gave military salute to Mu-Yun. Mr. Mu, we met again. This is the list of goods. Please accept. The soldier handed the document to Mu-Yun and left respectfully. Mu-Yun flipped through the documents and nodded with satisfaction. Well, you can make a lot of money again. Coal is used for heating, and gasoline is used to generate electricity. Those survivors who don't want to freeze to death can only spend high-priced points to find a base to buy coal and electricity. The extreme cold will only last for a month, and these supplies are enough for the people in the base. Afu, pack up your things and put them in the warehouse. Yes, City Lord. After instructing the housekeeper, Mu-Yun suddenly remembered that there were still 1,000 manpower generators placed in the space ring. So with a wave of his hand in the clearing, he took out these brand new generators that had not yet been opened. Sister Lan, arrange for Li Huaqiang to build a power generation room. The next power consumption may be a little tight. These generators should be enough. Okay, City Lord, I'll do it right away. After ordering this, Mu-Yun continued to act as a handshaker. Without rushing back to his room, he went straight to the back garden of the castle. It has been completely transformed into a white fruit growing area, and a small wall completely envelops the back of the castle, occupying almost half of the island. The planting area is heavily guarded, and no one can enter and exit at will except for the wood supernatural who comes to work every day. After all, this is the source of the core resources of the Dragon Court, and no mistakes are allowed. When Mu-Yun walked into it, he saw a green light of life. 950 tool men and sisters had green glowing hands, and under the light was a young green seedling. Under the full urging of everyone, the young seedlings began to grow at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just 10 minutes, the young seedlings turned into a 1 meter tall emerald green cane. Soon, a white flower appeared on the rattan and quickly bloomed. The white bud exuded a faint fragrance. Mu-Yun took a deep breath and suddenly felt refreshed. Suye stood in the center of everyone, her hands making prayers, her body emitting a bright green light, and hundreds of white flowers bloomed within a radius of 20 meters. It sets off her whole person very holy, like a forest elf. As one of Mu-Yun's key cultivation objects, Suye has broken through to a 5th order superpower. Not only was the range of the skill tree realm descent expanded to a range of 20 meters, but the white fruit level produced also reached the 5th order. Now it can produce more than 100 5th order white fruits every day. It is definitely Mu-Yun's cash cow. Mu-Yun was only a 5th order powerhouse, but breaking through required 10 times the energy of an ordinary powerhouse. That is, 100 5th order psionic crystal nuclei plus 100 5th order white fruits. In terms of crystal nuclei, he now has a 7th order crystal nucleus, which is just enough to reach 100 5th order crystal nuclei. What is missing now is Suye's 100 white fruits, and he can break through to become a 6th order powerhouse. After another 10 minutes, the flowers gradually bore fruit. The fruit is white all over and has an alluring fragrance. The green light in the planting area gradually faded, and everyone's foreheads were sweaty, their cheeks were crimson, and they were exhausted. The energy in their bodies has been exhausted, which is the price that must be paid to give birth to white fruits. But the ending is gratifying. Everyone picks their fruit and goes to the registration office to redeem points. They all worked for Mu Yun, and although Beiguo was very expensive to sell in the outer city, they could only get a fixed salary of 2 points per day. After all they need to upgrade are provided by the base, and even the wood fruit is provided by the base. They are not qualified to bargain. Only Suye's salary is slightly higher, 10 points a day, but she is very satisfied with this. She lived in the castle like other cadres, she didn't have to worry about eating and drinking, and it was useless to ask for so many points. City Lord. Everyone passed by Mu Yun's side and said hello respectfully, and Mu Yun chuckled and bowed his head. Suye finished counting the white fruits and handed a bag of white fruits to Mu Yun. City Lord, this time a total of 800 third order white fruits, 154th order white fruits, and 105th order white fruits were harvested. Okay, hard work on you. Mu Yun took the bag and looked at Suye's gaze a little softer. This is what I should do. Suye lowered her eyes shyly. All Mu Yun was thinking about now was breaking through the 6th order to obtain new skills, but there was no time to waste time here. After getting the 105th order white fruits, he directly turned around and left. Only Suye was left looking at Mu Yun's back with a lonely face. After Chuanshan obtained a move of Big Ivan, his own power is stronger than him, and the second skill is definitely more hanging than Big Ivan. Come to think of it, after returning to the room, Mu Yun began to absorb the crystal nucleus with one mind. He is looking forward to his new skills. Time passes. The assassination in the military base continues, and without any commander to preside over the situation, the base is full of chaos, especially those squads of superpowers. They were originally gangsters, and without restraint, the evil of human nature began to unfold. Chapter 165. After a night of chaos, Shen Liang, Zhang Di and the remaining cadres gathered together to avoid assassination. A large number of soldiers were stationed around, but no suspicious persons were found. They huddled not for fear of sudden assassination, but in order not to sacrifice in vain. Adjutant Zhang, Chief of Staff, what do we do now? A non-commissioned officer asked. Don't worry, observe for a while first. This group of killers is unidentified and strong. We can't act rashly, Shen Liang said in a deep voice. But Chief of Staff, we can't sit still. The regiment commander is still cold at the moment. You have to do something. Another non-commissioned officer persuaded. Shut up. Shen Liang snorted coldly. I still don't know who the enemy is, and rushing up rashly can only send him to death. Old Shen, you said, could it be someone from the Dragon Court? Zhang Di asked in a low voice. Hearing the word Dragon Court, Shen Liang's face suddenly became gloomy. Don't rule out this possibility. Just with their strength, why don't you directly destroy our base? Shen Liang's brows frowned slightly. Don't think about this first. Send someone to pacify the people and let everyone stay in the room and don't come out. Now that Yang Chen has been killed, Shen Liang and Zhang Di have become the top leaders of the base. After Shen Liang's order was given, soldiers immediately walked towards various accommodation areas. Somewhere in a room at a military base, more than a dozen men gathered together, one of them smoking a cigarette and smiling at a middle-aged Scarface sitting in the center. Brother Scar, the base is not peaceful these days. One by one, go and die. The young man smoking a cigarette said with a smile. Isn't it bad to mess around? Hey, hey, hey. The people in the room laughed softly. Previously, under the suppression of Yang Chen and Chen Feng, they were still honest. That doesn't mean they want to do this for the rest of their lives. There is no entertainment in the last days, and all that comes to mind is the joy of fish and water. They have long been hungry and thirsty, especially in the first 2 days, looking at the large and small forces that came to the base to take refuge. As long as there is a little strength, it is very popular outside, which boss does not have a dozen women. But what about them? It is clear that the strength is stronger than others, but the life is not as dashing as others. The strong sense of imbalance peaked today. Chen Feng, who originally pressed them, left. The head of the base was killed, and now half of the troops are protecting the remaining officers. What an opportunity. Brother Scar, let's discuss quickly what to do next. The smoking youth urged. What else can be done? Of course, take the opportunity to occupy this base. One of them said. No, after all, it is the military, and the background is strong. We can grab women and supplies and run, and we can set up our own hills. Everyone started talking. Okay, stop arguing. Scarface raised his hand. Brother Scar, you have an idea? The rest of the group stopped discussing. I already thought about it just now. Strength is the last word. Let's first go and rob the crystal nuclei and materials in the warehouse, mainly guns and weapons, and then go and rob the women. The action should be as fast as possible. After we win, we will run in the direction of the Dragon Court. The tree is big and cool, and at that time, even if the military pursues it, we can pull the Dragon Court into the water together. Scarface said slowly. Well, it's worthy of being Brother Scar. It's smart. Go, grab the crystal nucleus, grab the weapon, grab the woman. Everyone cheered and left the room with Scarface. There were 400 or 500 of them. Most of them were in the second order, and a few were in the third order. The military base at this moment is just as Chen Feng said before leaving. The wind came from all sides, and it disappeared in an instant. One wave is not flat, and another wave is rising. Boom! In the midst of a blast, the group broke into the warehouse. Those 20 or 30 guards had no power to resist at all. In just a few seconds, the guards all fell in a pool of blood. Ha ha ha, cool. Brothers, come with me. The youth leading the team roared excitedly. I didn't expect to get it so easily. It's like picking up money. For a while, everyone rushed into the warehouse. What are these things? Whatever they are, take them first. Damn, so much food. You actually gave us white rice porridge before. Ha ha ha, cool. Looking at the mountains of food, weapons, and ammunition in front of them, everyone became excited. Armed with weapons, the gang ran with a large amount of supplies towards the residential building where the survivors were housed. Along the way, as long as you see soldiers blocking it, they will directly solve it. From the commanding heights of the sports center, Zahi frowned slightly as he looked at the commotion that appeared below. Behind her were 18 women in black, all expressionless, as if they were machines. Ugh. A black figure suddenly landed beside Zahi. The coming person is sequence 2. Number 1, this group of people has entered the kill list. Are you sure? I heard their plan. It seems that they are preparing to flee to the Dragon Court. After finishing this ticket, this has a way out with the adults' plan, and it must be solved. Then act. Remember not to reveal our identities. Zahi said indifferently. Swish swish, words fell, and the 19 women in black turned into after images and disappeared in place. Zahi looked at the group of guys shouting below, and his eyes were not good. It's going to get us in trouble, Zahi muttered, and then disappeared in place as well. Tap da da. Bang. In the rain of bullets, those soldiers guarding the residential building were quickly eliminated by everyone led by Scarman. Even if the number of soldiers is 3 or 4 times as many as this, how can ordinary people be opponents of the supernatural with the same equipment? Ha ha ha, brethren, the men are killed, and the women are all taken away. Scarman shouted with a red face. Kill, rob a woman. Ha 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 ha, kill. The crowd roared furiously. Help. Get out of here. Please let me go. Woo! The helpless women struggled in despair and begged. Unfortunately, it is useless. Under the absolute force gap, they have no resistance, and the only person who can pray may be God. At this moment, a silver light flashed, followed by a round head thrown into the air. Blood spurted out of the neck like a fountain. Boom. A headless corpse fell heavily to the ground. In the room, the woman quietly held her child, looking at the woman in black who suddenly appeared, stunned. You, she said in surprise. The woman in black did not have a trace of emotional fluctuations in her eyes, ignored the woman, and directly dug out the supernatural crystal nucleus in the man's skull and left directly. Chapter 166. Bang bang, bang bang poof. Ah. Screams and gunshots rang out throughout the building, and a bloody massacre officially began. Zahi and the others, who already hated men abnormally, immediately killed more and more fiercely when they saw what they did. Poor Scarman. If you grab the supplies and run, if you don't say anything, you may be able to avoid it. It is called a knife on the head of the color word. Greed blinded them and made them choose to be doomed. Report. The people of the paranormal group have launched a rebellion. The warehouse has been ransacked by them, and they are now looting in residential buildings. A soldier hurriedly ran to Shen Liang and reported the situation outside one by one. When Shen Liang heard this, he angrily slapped the table and stood up. Maid, these bastards, immediately gather the personnel and go to eliminate the rebellion. But if we leave, who will be responsible for the defense here? HMPH. Is it time to think about this? Shen Liang scolded angrily. Take the weapon and kill the enemy with Laotzu. Yes. 10 minutes later, when they arrived at the residential building, they were greeted by more than 400 lifeless corpses, including the Scarface. The bodies were all lying in a pool of blood, and the death was extremely miserable. What is the situation? Shen Liang frowned and said, count the wounded, and go see how the survivors are doing. Shen Liang ordered, and immediately walked towards the residential building. Strangely, the survivors were fine, but a few suffered minor injuries. But the bloody scene is enough to prove the intensity of this battle. Who killed these more than 400 people? Shen Liang's heart was full of doubts. After asking the survivors, they only knew that it was a group of men in black, and there was no clue beyond that. Just when everyone returned to the sports center puzzled, 4 more corpses appeared. 4 more were assassinated. This made everyone's nerves tense. Damn it. Shen Liang couldn't help but roar. What the hell is going on? A shadow of death hangs over everyone's hearts, and this feeling is really bad. On the tall building not far from the sports center, the figures of Zahi and others slowly emerged. The mission has been completed. Go back. HMM. Several people nodded and turned to leave directly. This time, all the characters who should be killed have been killed, and the rest is not the domain that they can manage. On the other side, Mu-Yun received a message from Zahi and slowly opened his eyes from his cultivation. Is it done so quickly? Mu-Yun muttered, and then did not care, and continued to concentrate on absorbing the energy in the crystal nucleus. As time passed, temperatures around the world began to drop dramatically. At this moment, the outdoor temperature has reached 15 degrees. At this time, everyone realized that something was wrong. The trading floor was originally crowded, and none of the survivors who came to exchange clothes for points were gone. I don't have enough of myself. How can I choose to hand over my warm clothes? Originally, pedestrians on the road wore cool short sleeves and short skirts, but now, they have been wrapped in thick winter clothes, and some people have even directly draped down jackets. Due to the sudden change in temperature, most people choose to stay indoors, reluctant to go out to find supplies. Even on the bustling commercial streets, the number of pedestrians began to gradually decrease. Maid, what's the weather like in this damn weather? A slightly older man cursed and complained. Several people around echoed, yes, it's only early August, and I feel like it's almost winter now. I kind of regret redeeming all my clothes for points. Don't say it. Let's go to the trading floor quickly. Maybe we can change the clothes back. Everyone answered and quickened their pace. But when everyone came to the trading floor and asked, what? 1 point for a cotton coat? 2 points for a down jacket? Damn, this is too expensive. I'd rather freeze to death than redeem it. Yes, before it was all exchanged by the kilogram. This price is too dark. The capital of evil. Everyone walked out of the trading floor cursing. But not long after walking out, a cold wind blew, and they suddenly snorted. It seems to be colder than before. Forget it, change the quilt first. I don't want to be frozen awake at night. Well, it's a big deal to go to the Phoenix Tower once. Everyone muttered and had no choice but to return to the trading floor to spend 3 points for a quilt. Survivors who can afford clothes and quilts are fine, and those who stay in Zone D are less lucky. The current temperature is barely enough to survive, but if it reaches -100 degrees, within 3 minutes, they will freeze to death. The only good news is that the Ministry of Works has completed the construction of other areas of the inner city and is currently building residential buildings in Area D for these useless survivors. Mu-Yun will not kill them all. Basic insulation measures will still be given, but whether they can withstand this extreme cold depends on their own creation. Meanwhile, inside the castle, strong spiritual energy fluctuations spread in all directions, attracting the attention of many people. A moment later, Mu-Yun slowly exhaled a turbid breath. The 7th order crystal nucleus in his hand then turned into powder and scattered on the ground. Finally a breakthrough. Mu-Yun muttered lowly. He is now a 6th order psychic, and he is far from the 7th order. Well, it's a long way off. The next breakthrough, he needs 106th order crystal nuclei. Judging from the current situation, it is clear that there is no drama. After getting out of bed and moving his hands and feet, Mu-Yun found that his physique at this moment had reached an astonishing 50 times. A punch was thrown out, and the explosion continued to explode, bringing a strong fist wind to blow the decoration of the room to pieces. He nodded in satisfaction, then found a cotton jacket from the closet and draped it over and left the room. Although his physique is amazing at the moment, he is not afraid of the cold. But Mu-Yun didn't have to freeze in vain. When I came to the living room, I found Yihanyu and Coco. The living room is heated on, and the two are still dressed in cool clothes, sitting on the sofa, leisurely eating fruits and drinking drinks. "Uncle, have you broken through?" Coco greeted him with a grin, hugged his arm and coquettishly said. Mu-Yun touched Coco's head and said with a smile, "Yes, Uncle is stronger now." "How strong? Is there a Superman strong?" Mu-Yun smiled dumbly, pinched the tip of Coco's nose. "Superman now sees me, and I have to sing Conquest. Purple sauce, but why conquer?" Ignoring Coco's self-talk, Mu-Yun looked at Yihanyu. "Why are you alone, and the others?" Yihanyu shrugged her shoulders. "What else can you do? Go and pay off the debt." "Oh." Mu-Yun raised his eyebrows. "They went to hunt green slaves. Well, yesterday they broke through and then said that they didn't want to go out in winter, but this month's 100,000 points must be repaid. So while the extreme cold had not yet arrived, they all ran out to collect crystal nuclei." Chapter 167. After listening to Yihanyu's explanation, Mu-Yun was abrupt. "Wherever they go, I try out the latest skills. It seems to be north, leading to a town in City A, called Linchi Town. It should not be far away." Mu-Yun nodded. "In that case, then I will go first." As soon as the words fell, he galloped directly towards the north. The Langting base is located in the northern suburbs of City B, and City A is also located in the north of City B, and this Linchi Town is really not very far. If you can drive, it will be an hour. Now Mu-Yun's body is full of energy, which is enough for him to squander it wantonly. The absolute realm wraps its body, shields itself from the cold wind outside, and goes straight to its destination at a speed of 200 yards per second. Flying all the way, Mu-Yun found many scattered green slaves are wandering aimlessly through a sea of mutated plants. A white devil fruit occasionally grows on the thick mutant vine. Those aimless green slaves seem to be flies smelling shells, and they all rush towards the devil fruit. When the fruit is snatched by a green slave, they continue to wander without a target. And the green slave who ate the fruit, the momentum on his body suddenly rose. Sometimes fruits of other colors will appear, and the green slave, after obtaining the awakened fruit, directly mutates and becomes a more terrifying mutated green slave. The green slaves outside these cities sat on the resources of the entire green tide, and Mu-Yun did not see the green slaves below the 3rd order. They have no natural enemies, and can strengthen indefinitely over time. Seeing this scene, Mu-Yun's good mood, that had just broken through, became a little heavy. If this state of affairs is allowed to continue, the human race, which has finally eased its breath, will be in crisis again. Not only that, the appearance of extreme cold restricts the pace of human beings, but it cannot limit the pace of green slaves becoming stronger. In the long run, when the extreme cold completely subsides, mankind is likely to usher in the counterattack of the green tide. By then, will the human beings who have been standing still in place for a month still have the power to resist? The more Mu-Yun thought about it, the more worried he became. There must be a glimmer of life in the natural disaster, and Mu-Yun thought of the vitality of the black rain, but what is the chance of a first-line life in the extreme cold? About 20 minutes later, the silhouette of a small town appeared in his eyes, interrupting Mu-Yun's musings. He slowed down and slowly flew into the sky to observe the situation in the town. Linchi Town has been completely occupied by the green tide, and it is full of mutant plants, and only some human civilization buildings can be seen from the gaps in the vines. Above the plant-covered streets, hordes of green slaves wandered. Although the number is not as terrifying as in City B, most of the strength of these green slaves is above the 2nd order, and the 3rd order occupies most of it. The number of mutated green slaves is also not small. Mu Yun just glanced at it casually and found more than a dozen burly 4th order mutant green slaves. Boom. In the central square of the town, a flame rose up into the sky. Presumably it was Chuan Tian and others who were fighting against the corpse tide. No longer staying, Mu Yun flew straight towards the firelight. In a matter of moments, he reached the sky over the central square, burning the sky. With a sigh, Zhang Li waved a palm at the rushing tide of corpses. The sea of hot flames instantly formed, overwhelming the sky, devouring the surrounding green slaves. Blizzard. Yan Yunan pointed her hands towards the sky, and the endless wind and snow poured down against the corpse tide on the other side, instantly freezing countless green slaves in place. Killin. Bei's Issue's body was surrounded by electricity, and the terrifying power of thunder turned into a huge beast, aiming at those green slaves and crushing down. Roar. Bang. With an earth-shattering explosion, countless zombies turned into ashes. Mindstorm. Meteor fire shower. Meteorite rain. Infinite arrow rain. Electromagnetic detonation. The terrifying power swept through the corpse tide, and in the corpse tide, there was a continuous sound of wailing and screaming. Juice flew everywhere, and corpses were everywhere. This is a one-sided slaughter, whether it is a mutant green slave or a high-level green slave. Under the horrific bombardment of this group of women, it was like paper paste and fragile. There is a world of difference between a 6th order psychic and a 5th order. After possessing high-level skills, the strength of the supernatural begins to truly show. In addition, they are all elemental powers, and the attack methods are all large-scale damage, and it is not too easy to eliminate the corpse tide. On the contrary, Zhang Lan, who was strong and invincible before, had a bit of a chicken ability to iron and steel in the face of the corpse tide. At this moment, everyone else was releasing their powers, and only she stayed where she was. Originally said, well, if there is a fish that slipped through the net, it will be solved by her. But their powers are too dense, even a fly can't get in. How can we talk about fish that slipped through the net? Zhang Lan felt a little resentful in her heart. 30 years of Feng Shui in turn. Mu Yun hung high in the air and observed for a while, and then found that he didn't seem to have any hands in his hands. So he slowly fell in the middle of the team. Chuan Tian sighed. Husband, why did you come and successfully break through? Yes. Mu Yun replied with a light smile. Just broke through. Come and take a look when I'm idle. So that's the case. Rest assured, although the monster level here is generally higher, but after breaking through the 6th order, we can deal with it more than enough, so you don't have to worry. Chuan Shan patted Mu Yun's shoulder and assured confidently. Brother-in-law, it's appropriate to run so far to show affection. Chu Yu didn't know which corner to come out from, and said with an ambiguous face. Go and go. Adults talk, children don't interrupt. In the battle circle, Chu Yu added the mobile warehouse back to the city scroll, so like Zhang Lan, he could only stay where he was. Chuan Tian was prepared for a sudden accident, and did not make a move. And she doesn't need to pay off debts, this time she came to help crush the formation. Now the four of them just put together a table of mahjong. Okay, you guys go ahead. I'll go around the neighborhood and try out new skills. Mu Yun waved his hand, left the square, and flew towards a more remote area. If only I could meet a few 7th order mutant beasts or mutant green slaves. Mu Yun thought secretly in his heart. But he didn't hold out much hope. Although it is said that in the late apocalypse, 7th order monsters are common, the possibility of appearing here is not high. Anyway, he better try his skills first. What if it happens? Mu Yun inquired about the direction, and decided to try his luck in the small villages around Linshi Town. There is a village called Kingshan Village to the east of Linshi Town, which is only more than 10 miles away from Linshi Town. According to Mu Yun's estimate, it was sparsely populated and backed by green mountains. Sitting on such a huge resource, the rank of green slaves over there is definitely not low. Chapter 168. When Mu Yun came to Kingshan Village, he saw a Chinese pastoral dog. The brown hair, half-pulled dog ears, rounded and smooth head and black pupils, combined with a furry tail behind it, look very cute. The only difference from ordinary dogs is that they have a colored crystal nucleus inside it, and their body size is much larger than a house. I'll go. It's so big, I definitely won't find a girlfriend in the future. Mu Yun touched his nose and muttered. He intends to target this big dog. Because its eyebrow is a special strengthening stone, and this dog has eaten the colorful devil fruit mutated. Unlike other mutant creatures, there are no seeds in the colorful fruit. This means that the dog is still the same dog, and has not lost his mind like the green slave. It is a paranormal dogs. I just don't know what special powers this dog has awakened. Hello, little one. Mu Yunfei went over and said hello. Woof. Seeing a stranger approaching, the dog immediately barked fiercely twice. This is not an ordinary pastoral dog. This guy's bark is deterrent, and Mu Yun feels a toothache when he hears it. He quickly raised his hands to show that he was not hostile. Woof. As if sensing that Mu Yun was really not hostile, the dog temporarily stopped barking, but still grinned at Mu Yun, looking ready to attack at any time. At this moment, a coquettish sound came from the house behind the dog. What man? Immediately afterwards, a young girl wearing a red and white dress ran out. Her long hair reached her waist, her skin was more than snowy, and her big black and flexible eyes were watery, as if she could speak. The girl is a little immature, and not very old, which is about the same as Yan Yunan, at most 15 or 16 years old. Oh, there are still living people here. Seeing the girl, Mu Yun suddenly became interested. After all, in this desolate place, it is quite rare to see living people. Who are you? The girl looked at Mu Yun in the sky vigilantly, holding a small axe in her hand, and seemed to be ready to desperately. I'm just passing by. Little sister, you raised this dog. Mu Yun pointed to the big dog next to him and asked. You're the big dog stared at Mu Yun angrily, as if he had been insulted, and grinned at Mu Yun. Groove, this dog can talk. Mu Yun was shocked. Even he, a reborn, has never seen a talking Chinese pastoral dog. This made Mu Yun even more curious about this person and a dog. HMPH, uncle, my name is Wan K, stupid human. The dog that Mu Yun called Wan K snorted coldly, raised the dog's head arrogantly, and did not put Mu Yun in his eyes at all. Mu Yun didn't think so, but arched his hand. It turned out to be brother Wan K, who has been looking up for a long time. Then this must be brother Wan K's shovel official. Bah. The girl glared at Mu Yun. What shovel officer? So ugly. This girl's name is Lin Yuxin. Lin Yuxin? Mu Yun muttered, thinking about it for a long time in his mind and confirming it. I really hadn't heard of such a woman in my last life, and she obviously died halfway through. Uncle, it's dangerous here. I advise you to leave quickly. Lin Yu was pleased to see that Mu Yunfei had not left there, and couldn't help but remind. Danger? Looking around, behind the house where Lin Yuxin lives is a path into the mountain. Mu Yun suddenly thought that the danger she was talking about should be those powerful mutant beasts in the mountains. No, this girl called me uncle? I'm so old. At this moment, there was a coughing sound in the house, and then the curtain was lifted, and an old man staggered out. Grandpa village chief, why are you up? Seeing the old man, Lin Yuxin hurriedly stepped forward and helped him. Oh, it doesn't hurt. The old man smiled weakly, and raised his eyes to look at Mu Yun. Little brother, there is nothing valuable here, and there is not much food left, so you can't fight over these. After all, it is an old rivers and lakes, and it can be seen at a glance that Mu Yun is not easy to mess with, and in this special period, this person came here for nothing more than money and color. The old man protected Lin Yuxin behind him, and looked at him so straight. Boy, take advantage of Uncle Ben's good mood, and advise you to leave obediently. Seeing the old master's posture, Wan K also followed with a low roar. Did you misunderstand something? I just passed through here, without any evil thoughts. Mu Yun spread his hands. In that case, please leave quickly, it's not safe here. Seeing that Mu Yun had no malice, the old man also eased his breath, but his tone was still resolute. You say it's dangerous here, so why don't you go? Mu Yun frowned and asked rhetorically. People are old and can't walk. Hearing this, a trace of sadness flashed on the old man's face, and he shook his head and said, can't walk. Mu Yun pointed to the big dog. Just let Wan K carry you away. What do you mean, human? I'm a noble Chinese pastoral dog. How can you ants make it? Hearing Mu Yun's words, the big dog immediately said with disdain. You are quite personality. Go with your brother. How about your brother? Take you to find a little? Mu Yun smiled and wanted to step forward and touch Wang Kei's dog's head. Get out. Wang Kei immediately fried the pot and frantically rushed towards Mu Yun. I'll wipe and engage in sneak attacks. Plunder. Mu Yun had already been on guard, and at the moment when Wang Kei just jumped up, a side flash flashed. In midair, Mu Yun grabbed the big dog's neck as soon as he reached out, and a black luster suddenly flashed in his hand. Then pull hard. A colorful light mass smoothly fell into Mu Yun's hands. Wang. The next moment, Wang Kei's huge body quickly shrank by half, changing from the size of a house to the size of a car. Not only that, but words can no longer be spit out of the mouth. This is Mu Yun's new skill, plunder. As long as the creature was touched by him, Mu Yun could directly extract the special energy in its body. Unfortunately, it cannot be used for oneself. After awakening, the supernatural cannot carry two powers, otherwise it will explode and die. But it can be given to ordinary people, so that they can directly awaken to become superpowers. At this moment, Wang Kei was deprived of special abilities, and now he was an ordinary 6th order mutant dog. Yes, Wang Kei is a 6th order, and Mu Yun has already felt the energy fluctuations in its body. Bastard. What have you done to Wang Kei? Seeing this, Lin Yuxin hurriedly pounced on Mu Yun, but was grabbed by the old man. Xiaoyu, come back. Chapter 169. Woof. It was anxious, and began to shout wildly. If translated, it must be words with asterisk. Don't be angry, pay you back. Looking at the angry Wang Kei, Mu Yun smiled slightly, and raised his hand to throw it. So, I saw the colored light mass cut through the air and quickly shot towards Wang Kei, submerged into its forehead. After a while, Wang Kei's body size began to grow larger again, and he returned to his original state. I threw thunder nuts. Asterisk hash at carrot ash. I can talk. Wang Kei roared excitedly. At this time, Mu Yun Fei went to the top of its head and patted its head. How is it? Will you obey this time? Cut. Do you think I'll be afraid of you? Saying that, Wang Kei shook his head and took 2 steps back. Mu Yun smiled and then slowly fell into the hospital. You should have seen that it is easy for me to deal with you. I'm not a murderer. Glancing at the two with gloomy faces on the side, Mu Yun continued. It's just that I'm a little curious about you. With this stupid dog here, you can completely leave this place. Why don't you leave? Also, what do you call danger? The 6th order mutant beast is enough for you to walk sideways. Are there any more powerful monsters nearby? Mu Yun asked 3 questions in a row. The old man pondered for a moment, seeing that Mu Yun was not a bad person, so he sighed and told Mu Yun the reason for the whole thing. When the end came, most of the people in the village turned into monsters because they ate those strange fruits. The old man had been lying ill in bed, so he escaped. Lin Yuxin has not liked to eat fruit since she was a child, and she has escaped. That night, the people of the village were transformed into monsters by their mutated relatives. Originally, Lin Yuxin could not escape death, and her mother was protected by her father during the transformation process, allowing her to escape to the village head's house. After becoming green slaves, the villagers wandered to the village chief's house after transforming everyone. Fortunately, Wang Kei didn't know where to eat a colorful fruit, and became what he is now. After cleaning up the monsters, Wang Kei scavenged the fruits near the village. I don't know if it was because the animal instincts told it that those seeds could not be eaten. Fortunately, he can spit out words and let Lin Yuxin help pick out the seeds in the white fruit. Gradually, Wang Kei's size became bigger and stronger. When the food in the village ran out, he would take Lin Yuxin to Linshi town to collect supplies. The two of them survived like this, and the little life was quite moist. But the good times did not last long. As the black rain ended, the monsters in the mountains began to stir. Originally, only a few monsters descending the mountain were occasionally seen, but now there were more of them, and they were huge and fierce. Thanks to Wang Kei's monopoly on all the nearby resources, the breakthrough was rapid, and could barely cope with it. The village chief wanted Wang Kei to go to the mountains to see if something had changed. Boy, that's Uncle Ben's stuff. You can't touch it, Wang. When the village chief talked about this, he was interrupted by Wang Kei. Yo raw, it seems that you found some treasure. Wang Kei glared at Mu Yun viciously. No, nothing. Oh. Mu-Yun looked at him interestingly. It doesn't matter if you don't say it. I can find it myself. With that, he turned to leave. Stop. Wan K hurriedly stopped in front of him. That's Uncle Ben's. Uncle Ben has been guarding for 3 days, and he can't give it to you. Wan K, don't make trouble. Didn't you say that getting that thing is very dangerous? Don't want it. It's nothing. Hearing these words, Wan K suddenly exploded. No, it's important to me. Wan K roared loudly at the old man, and then stared at Mu-Yun with a grin. If you dare to snatch my treasure, I will bite you to death. Wan, you might as well tell me first. What the hell is that thing? Maybe I'm not interested? Mu-Yun shrugged his shoulders and said nonchalantly. HMPH, why not? That thing. Uncle Ben didn't know what it was. Wan K said, facing the sky with his nostrils, and holding his head high arrogantly. Lean. If you don't know, you don't know. What are you pretending to force? Mu-Yun couldn't help but scold. You know what? Uncle Ben's intuition tells me that that thing is important to me, but I don't know what the name is. Intuition? Is it reliable? Mu-Yun looked suspicious. If you want to say that he can still believe it when it smells the dog's nose, he does not believe in this metaphysical thing of intuition. Every non-chief said that the next time it would come out, and the result would be 1. Of course. Uncle Ben's intuition has always been accurate. Wan K said. Then tell me what that thing looks like. Maybe I know. HMM. Fog, giant trees, white flowers, golden fruits. Wan K thought for a while, and finally gave the answer. Giant tree. Mu-Yun frowned, and then fell silent. After the green tide, almost all the plants in the world that border the earth withered. But there are some exceptions. All Mu-Yun knew was a tree, and it was a holy tree that made a major turn in his previous life. Of course, there were some strange flowers, bamboos, ferns, but he had only heard about them and had not really seen them. Generally, these plants, like humans, are mutated from ordinary plants. They can also have special abilities, and they are all amazing. If what Wan K said was true, then he must have encountered a mutated giant tree. In that case, then your goal should still be that fruit, right? Mu-Yun asked. Wan. That's right. Woof. That fruit is important to me, and I must get it back. Wan K nodded and said. Mu-Yun touched his chin. Then now the fruit is not ripe, or can't you get it? Not mature. Wan. And I can't get it either. Wan. Hearing these words, Mu-Yun was immediately happy. You can't get it yourself. What are you still guarding it? HMPH. That's Uncle Ben's stuff. Uncle Ben is willing to guard who cares about your birds. Woof. Wan K snorted coldly. So, you're going to wait until the fruit is ripe before leaving here, right? The village chief and Linuxin nodded. Without prosperity, we can't do without the village. That's fine. I'll take you away. Listening to Mu-Yun's words, Wan K was stunned. What do you want to do? I have a survivor base, which is more suitable for human survival. Survivor base? Are you sure? Linuxin looked at Mu-Yun in surprise, her eyes shining, obviously full of hope for re-entering human society. There is nothing in the wilderness here, not only dangerous, but also boring to death. The village chief was also a little moved. It was too dangerous here. If one day Wan K went out and a monster attacked, the two would definitely die. Seeing that the friend and old master who had been with each other for a month were leaving, Wan K was anxious. Wait. How? You can't bear it? Mu-Yun looked at it with a smile. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 170. Wan K's expression suddenly froze, and then collapsed to the ground like a deflated leather ball. Okay, let's go. Wan K lowered his head in frustration. Seeing this scene, Linuxin suddenly relented, and she walked over to hug Wan K. Wan K, or you go with us. You won't find anything to eat alone, and you will starve to death. Wan. I don't care. I have to stay. Wan K wagged his tail and looked resolute. In this way, you are not sure that you can get that thing anyway. I can help you, and we will divide it equally when we turn back. Xiaoyu and the village chief, I will bring you back to the base first, and I will take you back after I get the fruit, so that you can continue to stay with them, and everyone is happy. Mu Yun flickered like this. He can't let go of such a powerful thug as Wang Ke, and so is the mysterious giant tree and fruit. He wants it all. Wang, would you be so kind? Wang Ke raised the dog's head in surprise. Of course, I won't take advantage of you, Mu Yun said with a smile. After a moment of contemplation, Wang Ke always felt that something was wrong. But Lin Yuxin and the village chief felt that this method was good and kept persuading on the sidelines. Wang Ke hesitated for a long time and finally nodded. Well, you remember, don't lie to me. Otherwise Wang will bite you to death. Don't worry, my words always count. Mu Yun's heart was ecstatic and he immediately took action. You guys pack your luggage. I'll let people escort you away. Thank you little brother. I don't know what to call little brother yet, the village chief said gratefully. Village chief, you're welcome. My name is Mu Yun. You can call me the city lord. Saying that, Mu Yun did not stop and flew directly towards Chuantian and the others. Coming back so soon. Seeing Mu Yun who returned again, Chuantian was a little surprised. Mu Yun did not hide it and explained the situation in general. A Chinese pastoral dog as big as a house. Can you also speak human language? Chu Yu on the side suddenly became interested. Brother-in-law, take me to see. I have never seen such a magical dog when I'm so big. What are the skills you acquired at the 6th order? Skills. When the energy is enough, you can take people or things within a specified range and teleport to any place that has been before. Mu Yun nodded and understood. It is equivalent to an advanced version of teleportation, which can be used as a group teleportation scroll. Can I go straight back to base from here? Mu Yun asked. Of course. Chu Yu looked proud. It's just that the distance is too far, the consumption is a bit large, and it will consume all my energy once teleported. This way. Mu Yun bowed his head slightly. Originally, he wanted Chu Yu to return first Lin Yuxin and the village chief, but it seemed that he could only return together after cleaning up the tide of corpses here. Okay, let's settle the matter here first, and then I'll take you to meet that Wang Ke. In order to speed up their killing speed, Mu Yun and Chuantian also joined the battle. After the 6th order, Mu Yun had energy in his body that was comparable to that of a 7th order powerhouse. Now he finally doesn't have to use his powers carefully. The absolute realm is directly expanded to the maximum range, with a radius of 50 meters, that is, a radius of 100 meters. Forthwith, he uses the most efficient power to kill green slaves. As long as it is a green slave in the realm, the spiritual energy crystal nucleus in his head is directly pulled out by him. Unless it is a monster above the 6th order, no one can resist Mu Yun's power. Countless crystal nuclei turned into long rivers and hung in the air, and the green slaves below fell one after another. Mu Yun was like a bulldozer, passing over the tide of corpses, and everywhere he passed, corpses were everywhere. Gradually, more and more crystal nuclei were suspended around Mu Yun, as if a galaxy was hanging beside him, shining with heartwarming fluorescence. Chuantian's level has now been leveled by everyone, although the 10 consecutive ultimate flashes are equally terrifying. But in front of Beizishu and Xian Yi, who are also special powers, they are not outstanding in front of others. Unless she came to a big Ivan, but obviously, it wasn't necessary. With Mu Yun's hanging pressure, in 10 minutes of effort, the corpse tide was swept away. His ability to clear maps is too terrifying for all the women to reach. Jingle bells. The crystal nucleus in the sky fell to the ground and formed a hill in front of Chu Yu, accidentally submerging her small body. Brother-in-law quickly, continue. Come more, I can bear it. Hearing Chu Yu's urgent voice, the corners of Mu Yun's mouth twitched. What is this called? Chu Yu didn't care so much and happily swam in the ocean of crystal nuclei, enjoying the wonderful taste. It took a while for her to put the nucleus into her storage space. The others were not idle, quickly clearing the battlefield. Sent out, these add up to definitely worth millions of points. Fan's Aoki bent down to pick up the crystal nucleus, and saliva almost came out. I didn't think That points were so easy to get, and I could finally say goodbye to the tiring days before. Yan Yunan also echoed on the side, and her eyes narrowed into a crescent moon. Don't forget, we still owe 100,000 points each. Zhang Li poured a basin of cold water, and the faces of the two suddenly collapsed. Sister Zhang Li, don't say things about the scenery at this time in the future. I don't even have the mood to pick up crystal nuclei now. Fan Zioki said with a resentful face. Yan Yunan was the same, and the whole person was shrouded in a layer of haze. They suddenly found that the crystal nuclei on their hands were not fragrant. The crowd finally cleared the battlefield. Under Chuyu's general count, all the crystal nuclei added up, almost 1.5 million points. Deducting the more than 500,000 killed by Mu Yan, there was just 1 million left, and the 10 of them, each with a debt of 100,000 yuan, has not yet been paid. It can be said that today is a day of working for nothing. Obviously, they made a lot of money today, but at the moment they were not happy at all. Think on the bright side. Tomorrow you will change places and do another vote. Won't it be millions of points again? Mu Yan patted their shoulders. No motivation. I want to lay down. Chuyu sighed and said dejectedly. Today she experienced the great joys and sorrows of life, and she really didn't know how to be happy for a while. Don't be frustrated. I'll take you to meet the talking dog and have fun. Saying that, Mu Yan's domain unfolded and flew towards Qingshan village with everyone. Not long after, the figure of a big yellow dog appeared in front of everyone. Wow, what a dog bigger than a house. Chuyu opened his mouth wide in surprise, and his eyes stared at Wang Ke with light. Wang. Dog? Who are you scolding a dog? Uncle Ben is a mythical beast, a stupid human. Wang Ke roared angrily. Women. A very cute dog suddenly spoke, and he looked old-fashioned, and he opened his mouth to say how is Uncle Ben. A strong sense of discord came to my face. Everyone said that they were embarrassed and uncomfortable. Chapter 171. I want to touch it. After landing, Chuyu's eyes shone with essence, and he reached out and touched Wang Ke's hairy body. HMPH. Do you deserve it too? Wang Ke held the dog's head high arrogantly. Although it wanted to resist, it faced the eyes of the women, and Wang Ke was instigated. After all 11 women here had reached the 6th order, and none of them were easy to mess with. Hahaha, it's so cute. I haven't seen a live dog in a long time. Hey, don't touch Uncle's tail, Wang. Seeing Wang Ke being ravaged by many people, Lin Yuxin was a little taken aback. She coughed lightly. Ahem, we are ready, let's go. At this time, everyone saw Lin Yuxin and the village head. After Mu Yan's brief introduction, the women reluctantly said goodbye to Wang Ke. After the strong white light, Chuyu shifted a space and returned to the Dragon Court base with everyone. Now, only Mu Yan and Wang Ke were left in the village, one person and one dog. Okay, now that the people are gone, take me to see the mysterious giant tree, Mu Yan said with a smile. Wang Ke pouted and then led Mu Yan to gallop all the way towards the depths of the mountain. Mu Yan flashed and jumped directly onto Wang Ke's soft back. Wang. Stupid human. Uncle Ben has something you can ride. Get down quickly. Wang Ke roared unpleasantly. Mu Yan smiled. Don't be so petty. I'll invite you to eat big bones when you turn back. Bastard. Uncle Ben is not a dog. How can he like bones? Wang Ke scolded angrily. So what do you like? Let's listen. Mu Yan asked. Uncle Ben likes to drink milk. Wang Ke hesitated for a moment, lowered his head and said. Poof. Mu Yan almost spurted blood. Unexpectedly, this guy actually likes to drink milk, and gave the grandfather a whole smile. What are you laughing at? Wang Ke shouted dissatisfied. Mu Yan quickly stopped laughing. Ahem. No smile. Isn't it milk? I have more. Turn back to ensure that you drink until you vomit. Wang. What a damn. Wang Ke's eyes lit up. Of course. Mu Yan nodded affirmatively. Followed by, Wang Ke ran towards the distance, faster and faster. By the way, that place is very evil. I took a quick glance at it at that time. If it weren't for Uncle Ben's fast running, maybe he would have explained it there. Wang Ke said. Evil gate. Mu Yan's eyebrows were slightly raised. Woof. Yes, you'll know when you go. Then do you know when the fruit will ripen? Where do I know? You don't know, you're guarding a yarn here. Mu Yun was speechless for a while. Woof. My nose is spiritual, and when it is ripe, I can naturally smell it. Huh. I believe in your evil. After about another hour of running, 1K stopped. At this moment, one person and one dog have entered the depths of the mountain. Along, Mu Yun found a large number of mutant beasts, huge wild boars, red-eyed rabbits, and giant pythons the thickness of buckets. They are huge, generally in the 4th and 5th order. It may be the Wanbei Qi exuding from 1K's body, and these mutant beasts did not attack them. But strangely, after entering the depths of the mountain, these mutant beasts never appeared again. The two of them were now surrounded by thick vines, which wrapped around the towering dead trees, covering the sky. In front of Mu Yun was a huge basin, and as far as the eye could see, the area of the basin was not much less than that of Linshi Town. Weirdly, most of the central half of the basin is filled with a thick white fog. There was a terrifying roar, and a strange screaming sound faintly in the white mist. Kind of interesting. Mu Yun looked around a few times with interest. Forthwith, he set his sights on the very center of the basin, where a giant tree about thousands of meters tall stood like a jade pillar that reached the sky, straight into the sky. This is an extremely rare towering ancient tree, and its height is comparable to the Pearl of the Orient in the magic capital. Pity. Mu Yun couldn't see the true face of the giant wood clearly. The dense white mist completely wrapped the giant tree, and Mu Yun could only judge from the shadows. This was a towering tree. Are you sure it's here? It doesn't seem very dangerous. Mu Yun was a little suspicious. Here it is. 1K looked serious. Whoosh. It let out a whimper, bared its fangs, and began to hiss, as if some threat was approaching. Suddenly, a sharp cry came from the center of the basin, rushing straight towards Mu Yun Shenlinge. Babbling, Mu Yun instantly felt his scalp tingle. A tingling pain hit my heart. And that's not the end of it. The sound came like a tsunami. Groove. Mu Yun was shocked. Immediately afterwards, he unfolded his field, and flew into the air with 1K. I wipe. What the hell is this TM? Mu Yun was so frightened that all the souls were exposed. I saw that in the basin. Countless insects swarmed out, overwhelming the sky, and the number was more than trillions. Mu Yun looked at all kinds of insects at a glance. Purple poisonous scorpions, black centipedes, green spiders, red vipirs, yellow poisonous toads. Each one is the size of a basketball, blue as ink, covered with scales, shimmering with a cold light. This is only part of the story. There are also various mutated insects. Killer bees, blood-sucking mosquitoes, red flies, red fire ants, ringed spiny moths. In short, there are countless of them, all of them mutated terrifying creatures. At the same time, this is also one of the apocalyptic disasters that Mu Yun fears the most. Bug-tide. Woo, these are carnivorous insects, and they are still in a hurry. 1K shouted anxiously. Mu Yun looked solemn. Go. 1K thought that Mu Yun meant to escape, and as a result, woo hey, you're in the wrong direction. Why are you still rushing in? 1K was so anxious to jump to his feet, but it could not resist when it flew in the sky. Give it a shot. Turn a bike into a motorcycle. Rush. Mu Yun drank. Woof. I wipe. Are you crazy? Looking for death? Hurry up and retreat. 1K was mad and shouted desperately. Woo, your head is cramping. 1. If you don't retreat, Laotz you will bite you to death first. I don't want to become a skeleton shelf. 1K cursed. It has seen several giant pythons that are 100 meters long, and they are eaten up in 3 seconds. If it weren't for the lack of meat on the bone rack and the intrigue of the bugs, absolutely no bone dregs would be left. Don't panic. It's a good dog after 18 years. Bastard. They all said that Uncle Ben is not a dog. Woo, the army of insects was overwhelming, but Mu Yun was not afraid, but instead quickened his pace and plunged directly into the sea of insects. It's over. The dog's life is resting. Bah. Uncle Ben's life is resting. Chapter 172. However, the imagined pain did not come. After seeing the situation in front of him clearly, 1K opened his mouth in surprise and almost lost a few teeth. Countless insects were blocked by an invisible barrier. Woof, what's going on? 1K was amazed. It's all said, don't panic. I'm afraid of something. Mu Yun flew calmly, galloping towards where the white mist was. His vision was already obscured by a sea of insects, and he could only fly by feeling. I'll go. Big guy 666,666. Barking. 1K couldn't help but raise his big dog finger. Who taught you this? And will shout 666. Muyun struck. Wang Yi is very talented, and he learned it when the end of the world did not come. Wang. It's just that you can't speak at that time, otherwise you humans will listen to the whole crosstalks. Muyun was completely defeated. Humanity has been exposed too much, and if it were not for the end times, the Wangxing people would probably rule the world. I just don't know if there are cats. Soon, he passed through the swarm and came to the vicinity of the white mist. It seems that there are fewer carnivorous insects. 1K looked at it suspiciously. It saw that the originally dense insects were all scattered, and there was no longer any obstruction ahead. The bugs ran away. This made 1K even more confused. Muyun did not answer its doubts, and plunged straight into the white mist. Really? As he expected, the sea of insects did not continue to chase, as if he was very afraid of the white mist, and did not dare to approach. 1K on the side had palpitations. Fortunately he brought Muyun with him, otherwise it was really dangerous. How do you know that this bug doesn't dare to come in? 1K wondered. Muyun smiled mysteriously. You guess. Woof. You're pretending to be deep. 1K disdained. It's okay to observe more. You haven't found it. Not a single bug came out of the white mist, all came out of the ground. Muyun reminded 1K. If you don't say it, I really didn't pay attention. That's why I bet on it. Muyun was determined. After that, he walked towards the inside of the white mist. 1K also followed, but when it just took a small step, its body suddenly trembled violently, and its hair rose all over its body. Woof. There is a problem. It felt the crisis coming, and it seemed that something was staring at it. Muyun frowned. What's wrong? My intuition tells me that this place is not easy. Say some nonsense. Fools know that there is something strange in the white fog, so the insect tide does not dare to enter. Muyun rolled his eyes. Lying groove. Then you mean that there is something more terrifying than the insect tide here? 1K Nakazalan's big eyes suddenly widened. It's possible. Muyun nodded affirmatively. Why are you still stunned? Hurry up and run. You are too daring. Aren't you looking like Leo Tzu is invincible in the world outside? Why did you come here? Muyun shook his head, turned and walked towards the white mist. He wanted to see what terrible things were hidden. 1K gritted his teeth and followed closely. It's just that the huge body shrinks behind Muyun. Looking around is very funny. In the white fog, visibility is very low, and you can't see anything from a few meters away. This situation had no effect on Muyun. The realm opens, shrouding one person and one dog. No matter what demons and monsters they are, they can't get close to them. It was that the consumption was a little bigger, and Muyun had already taken out the spiritual energy crystal nucleus, and began to replenish energy. Constantly walking inward, the white fog is still thick. There was nothing around them except dense vines. It's easy to get lost in this environment. Fortunately, 1K leaves a pool of dog urine every time he walks. With this method, the two pointed directly at the center of the fog. Muyun estimated that he had walked at least 1,000 meters, and there was still no end in sight. Woof. It doesn't seem to be any danger. Why I still feel panicked. 1K complained. Suddenly, Muyun remembered something. Speaking of which, how do you know that there is a golden fruit, and you have never come in? 1K shook his head. I didn't come in, but every morning, when the sun rises, the fog in the heights becomes thinner. It was windy that day, and I accidentally saw a fruit emitting golden light on the top of the tree. Muyun nodded, so it was reasonable. After walking for a long time, finally, Muyun felt a huge shadow appear in front of him. He was shocked. Found it. 1K was excited. The two approached quickly and soon came to the shadows. It is an extremely stout ancient tree, with roots like dragons, which can be deduced from the visible line of sight. This ancient tree is at least the thickness of 2 or 3 large football fields. At this moment, a strange voice came into his ears. Forthwith, babbling, that shrill cry reappeared, accompanied by a piercing and unpleasant sonic offensive. Mu-Yun only felt pain in his eardrums, golden flowers in his eyes, and dizziness in his head. Wang Ke had long covered the dog's ears, lying on the ground and shivering. Wang. Woof. Help me. Woohoo. It kept wailing. Mu-Yun Qiang supported his body and raised his hand to hold his temple to resist the impact in his mind. However, the cry was like a spell. Not only did not weaken in the slightest, but intensified. His face was pale, cold sweat fell on his forehead. His lips were purple, and his pupils were slightly dilated. Mute it. Mu-Yun drank sharply, and his words followed. Moment. Within the field, there was a dead silence. His eyes were wide open, staring at the towering tree in front of him. That sound came from the top of the canopy. It took more than 5 minutes before the voice slowly stopped. Mu-Yun lifted the silence and frowned. I think I might have guessed something, he said softly, his expression solemn, and his eyes flashed with coldness. What a thing, Wang. It's terrifying, Wang. Wang Ke asked tremblingly. Mu-Yun pondered for a moment. There is an 80% probability that it should be a big bat. He was a little strange outside just now, and this voice was somewhat familiar. Now, after feeling this sound wave, he suddenly remembered. In the previous life, there was a monster that humans loved and hated, the Zerg killer, and the Lingayan demon bat. Bats were omnivorous creatures that ate insects before the end times. After the end of the world, a big bat came from nowhere, leading countless groups to hunt the insect tide. Where the insect tide passes, humans retreat. Where the demon bat passed, humans and insect tides retreated together. Many human bases have survived the insect tide, mostly thanks to this guy. It is this big bat that has reproduced countless offspring, giving humans a chance to survive. Of course, monsters are monsters after all. If it is not my race, its heart will be different. Some bases have also been destroyed by these bats, which is a double-edged sword for humans. Finally, it came to the later stages. After humans were no longer afraid of the insect tide, this big bat was also wiped out by many human experts. However, the casualties were heavy. At that time, the Lingayan demon bat had already broken through the 10th order threshold and became a hegemon. It took the sacrifice of 2 king-level powerhouses to kill him. Chapter 173. The nature of the Lingayan demon bat and Wang Ke is very similar, and they evolved by eating colorful demon fruits. And its ability is the sound wave of death that can penetrate the soul. Wang Ke lives in the human world all year round, and the old village chief treats it well. So it's relatively close to humans. But this big bat is different. Brutal and bloodthirsty by nature, it brings out the nature of the beast to the fullest. Big bats? So powerful. After listening to Mu-Yun's narration, Wang Ke's pores opened and he shivered. It couldn't help but spit. The special power of Wang Ke is great power, giant is gigantic, and force is unparalleled power. As for why it could speak, it didn't understand it itself, and Mu-Yun didn't understand it even more. Its purely physical offensive means are simply helpless when encountering sonic attacks. It's good to bring you here, otherwise Uncle Ben can't help this thing. Wang Ke had some palpitations. Mu-Yun glanced at it meaningfully. If he didn't appear, Wang Ke would either die from the insect tide or die from the Lingayan demon bat. And Lenuxin and the village chief will also fall, because they lose the protection of Wang Ke. No wonder I didn't see this dog in my previous life. The truth came out. At this moment, a behemoth was suspended in the air, and its scalloped eyes flashed with a strange green glow. Boom. Its mouth moved, it made strange sounds, and it was a little hungry. The Lingayan demon bat did not notice the 2 ants under the ancient tree. Its target is the endless insect tide outside the white mist. Chicken flavor, crunchy. Below, Mu-Yun lifted Wang Ke up, and the 2 slowly flew towards the top of the ancient tree canopy. Now Mu-Yun is not afraid, even if he encounters an 8th order terrifying creature. Come, naturally go to meet this big bat for a while. Moreover, he was also very curious about the golden fruit in Wang Ke's mouth. Mutated plants, especially sacred trees, often give birth to unusual treasures. Mu-Yun didn't want to miss it. The 2 slowly ascended, and due to the low visibility, they could only see the approximate outline of the ancient tree. Mu-Yun, what are these red dots around? Fruit? Wang Ke's nose sniffed and whispered. Mu-Yun shook his head. It's not like His gaze fell on the leafy trunk of the ancient tree. Although it is not clear to see, it is certain that the branches and leaves of the ancient tree are very dense. Babble. Right now. After getting the soul sound of SUO life, Mu-Yun hurriedly turned on the silent mode. This sonic attack came and went quickly. Surprisingly, after the shrill cry disappeared, the entire ancient tree began to stir. Lying groove. No, those red dots are the eyes of bats. Wang Kei exclaimed and pointed around. Sure enough, fist-sized red eyes emerged from the trunk of the tree. Every eyeball is full of fierce aura, like a demon who chooses people to eat. With the call of their king, they all woke up from their sleep. Densely packed and overwhelming. Where there are dense branches and leaves, all are bats hiding on tree branches to sleep. Lean. So much. Wang Kei gasped and frightened. At this glance, it is like locusts entering. The number is not much worse than the insect tide. The spirit sound demon bat in the canopy of the tree roared, and all the bats rushed towards the insect tide beyond the white mist. Moment. The old trees, that were originally leafy, have lost a lot of weight. The insect tide hovering around the white mist seemed to have been frightened by something. Actually turned around and ran. It's like a mouse meeting a cat, and meeting a natural enemy. Lingayan demon bat will not let these delicious foods go. Babble. The terrifying sound wave directly shook the sea of insects one after another. The army of bats is like entering no man's land, frantically eating the swarm. Unfortunately, Mu-Yun and Wang Kei did not see all this. Through the fog, the two could only hear the sound of banging in the distance. The timing was right. We went and stole the big bat's hometown. Wang Kei's eyes lit up, and he rubbed his hands excitedly. Mu-Yun nodded, did not hesitate, and the speed increased to the extreme. The two accelerated towards the canopy. Just as the Lingayan demon bat was enjoying the delicacy, a person and a dog had already come to the top of the canopy. At the top of the main trunk of the ancient tree, 6 branches grow. Each branch is wrapped around a golden egg-shaped fruit, guarding it. These golden fruits emit a faint glow, and look very mysterious. Wang haha, I found it. It is this kind of fruit. My intuition tells me that, if I eat it, I can get unimaginable abilities. Wang Kei was so excited that he was ready to stretch out his claws and grab the golden fruit above his head. Wait a minute. Mu-Yun stopped it. What's wrong, Wang? Don't move yet. It seems to be immature yet. Mu-Yun frowned and stared at these fruits. At the top of each fruit, there is a white bud, faintly blooming with petals, but not yet completely. If I expected it to be true, only when the flowers bloom completely can they be considered mature. No, Wang, that big bat is coming back. Wang Kei was so anxious that he couldn't wait to pick the golden fruit immediately. Mu-Yun shook his head. It's useless to pick it now. I can't eat hot tofu in a hurry. Don't panic. At this time, the Lingayan demon bat seemed to sense the presence of the two and glanced back at this side. Hey, a human broke in. Immediately after, the Lingayan demon bat turned around abruptly and its scarlet eyes locked on Mu-Yun and Wang Kei. This guy obviously has an extraordinary IQ and senses that he has been stolen home. It flapped its wings and turned into a black shadow towards Mu-Yun and the two. Woof, it found us. Wang Kei was shocked and quickly hid behind Mu-Yun. You overestimated too much, Mu-Yun said with a smile. Babble. This Lingayan demon bat was huge, with wings spread for 30 meters and a row of bone spurs on its back. Mu-Yun squinted his eyes and watched the Lingayan demon bat slaughter over. Suddenly, he raised his hand and slapped it away. Air cannon. Mu-Yun drank lightly. Boom. A powerful storm swept out. Under the fierce wind, a huge force surged in, and the body of the Lingayan demon bat was directly blasted and smashed a piece of ancient wood. The power of Mu-Yun's palm made it terrified. HMPH, if it weren't for the fact that it was still a little useful to keep you, I would definitely slaughter you today. Mu-Yun glanced at it contemptuously, casually placed a few pinhole cameras, and pulled Wang Kei to turn away. The Lingayan demon bat was stunned in place, unable to react for a long time. What's the situation? It had just broken through the 7th order, and it was actually blasted away by a small human palm. Is this reasonable? Babble. An angry roar resounded in the sky. The Lingayan demon bat could only be incompetent and furious, but did not dare to find trouble with this person. Fortunately, the fruit was not lost. It's a blessing. Chapter 174. Leaving the white mist and insect tide, Mu-Yun and Wan K returned to the village. Wan, what do we do now? Wan K asked. Let's rest for 2 days first. Mu-Yun smiled faintly and walked towards the village chief's house with Wan K. This time, Mu-Yun's neighbors were almost always on, and the consumption was indeed a little large. Anyway, the mysterious golden fruit is not ripe yet, so I just come back and rest for 2 days. Woof. What if the fruit is ripe and the bat is the first to go? Wan K said worriedly. Don't worry, you see what this is? Mu-Yun took out a tablet with a picture of the top of the ancient tree on it. Those 6 golden fruits were among them. This is camera. Wan K's eyes widened, and he looked shocked. You know all this? Mu-Yun was also a little surprised. Wan K, as a pastoral dog, knows a little more. Shen, what is this? There was one in the widow's house of the village head king before. Wan K glanced at Mu-Yun with disdain. Mu-Yun suddenly had black lines all over his head. He seemed to know something amazing. Okay, let's rest. We'll not be late when it's almost ripe. After putting the tablet away, Mu-Yun found a room at the village chief's house, lay on the bed, and closed his eyes. Through the transmission of thoughts, Chu and Shine was told to return to the base 2 days later, so as not to worry them. Wan K's body size was too big, so he directly lay down in the yard and took a nap. At night, the silence is like water, and a bright moon hangs in the sky, sprinkling a clear glow. Aoyama village is peaceful. A fire rose in the courtyard of the village chief's house. After several hours of recovery, Mu-Yun's energy in his body had been completely restored. At this moment, he was sitting by the campfire, holding a beef leg and roasting it. Wan K drooled while watching. Uncle Ben hasn't eaten meat for a long time. The meat of the mutant beast is very sour, and it is still beef fragrant. Wan K licked his mouth. Don't worry, it's not ripe yet. Mu-Yun glanced at him lightly. Wan K was immediately honest. Soon, Mu-Yun sprinkled cumin and threw the beef leg strips in his hand to Wan K. Wan K couldn't wait to take a bite, chewed and swallowed, and then praised. Really fragrant, Wan. Mu-Yun smiled silently. He took a bottle of wine from the storage ring, poured a glass, and sipped it slowly. Wan K gnawed on the leg of the ox, and did not care about speaking. Speaking of which, have you ever seen a mutant beast that can be used? I think that, if the materials in the ring are consumed in the future, then I can only rely on white fruits to fill my stomach. Although the white fruit without any taste can maintain nutrition for a day, it is not delicious. You have to think of a way. You can't sit on the mountain and eat nothing. He didn't have that idea before, because he knew very well that there were no such creatures after the end times. But since I saw Wan K, it has been different. I don't know if the dog meat is fragrant. Wan K, who was eating beef legs, suddenly felt a chill behind him, and a coldness instantly swept through its pores. Woo, what kind of look are you? Wan K always felt that Mu-Yun's eyes were wrong, making him uncomfortable. Huh. Mu-Yun chuckled and did not explain. Ben, Uncle Ben's meat is also sour, not delicious. Wan K said hard. Oh. Mu-Yun was still expressionless and said lightly, so ask if you have seen a mutant beast that can eat. Wan. Never seen it. Yes. Mu-Yun said with a smile. Woo. Wan K hurriedly responded. Well, if you haven't seen it, forget it. Mu-Yun shrugged his shoulders. Wan. Subsequently, Mu-Yun and Wan K waited in the village for 3 days. Now, the weather outside has reached 0 degrees. Early morning. The sun was shrouded in clouds, the air was exceptionally cold, and the wind was howling. Mu-Yun pushed the door and walked out, looking at the sky in the distance. A white snowflake fell and landed on his face. Freezing cold. Extreme cold. Coming. Mu-Yun murmured. The wind and snow gradually increased, and the goose-feathered snow fell on Mu-Yun's body. He tightened his clothes and looked at Wan K, who was still napping in the yard. Won't this guy be cold? Mu-Yun muttered, and immediately went up and touched its thick dog hair. Needless to say, it's really warm. Get up. Mu-Yun woke up Wan K. Wan. Dinner? Wan K opened his sleepy eyes and said with teary eyes. Just no to eat. The fruit is ripe. It's time to go into the mountains. Mu-Yun patted its head. Wan. Wang Kai suddenly came to his senses and stood up excitedly. Forthwith, one man and one dog ran towards the depths of the mountain again. Mu Yun sat on Wang Kai's soft back, and the cold wind whistled past him. On the road, those mutant beasts did not stop moving because of the cold. As soon as a devil fruit grows somewhere, they will swarm. This made Mu Yun's brows frown. I don't know how much these guys will grow after the extreme cold. I'm really looking forward to it. Wang Kai was running happily in front, while Mu Yun was sitting on his back and closing his eyes and thinking. More than an hour later, Mu Yun came to the basin again. The ground has been covered with a thick layer of snow. When the bugs saw food coming, they wanted to rush up and bite it. But the cold weather made the insect tide weak, and the speed of action slowed down. The insect tide is afraid of cold, which is good news. Ignoring the insect tide, Mu Yun's domain unfolded, and once again rushed into the white mist with Wang Kai. Strangely, the insect tide did not choose to retreat when it encountered the white fog. Instead, he rushed in with a man and a dog. Wang. These guys are so not afraid of those bats? Wang Kai was surprised. Because the fruit is almost ripe, they gather here for the sake of the fruit, not desperately at this time, but when. Mu Yun's footsteps did not stop, and he quickly rushed to the ancient tree. Makes sense, Wang. Wang Kai nodded repeatedly, looking like he suddenly realized. One man and one dog came to the top of the ancient tree, followed by the insect tide. Babble. The fruit that Lingai and Demon Bat has guarded for so long. Naturally it will not be easily touched by outsiders. With it in order, the overwhelming bat pointed to the insect tide and slaughtered. This time, the insect tide did not choose to back down. For the sake of the fruit, he did not hesitate to fight the fire, and the moth was not afraid of death. A brutal battle began. Endless insects also surged under the ancient trees. They could not fly. They could only climb along the huge branches of the ancient trees. The insect tide fights madly with the bat swarm. Worm corpses are everywhere, and blood is flowing everywhere. Mu Yun hung in front of the big bat with Wang Kai, and the two sides looked at each other in the air. Boom. The big bat hissed, as if to warn Mu Yun to leave here. Mu Yun ignored it, and quietly waited for the fruit to ripen. I don't know if it was an illusion, but the white fog around the ancient trees began to thin. Chapter 175. Mu Yun observed carefully. It was found that the flowers on those 6 fruits had fully bloomed. The petals are purplish red, brightly colored, fragrant, and look quite attractive. The surrounding white mist was attracted by these 6 purple red flowers and gradually absorbed into it. And outside the 6 golden egg-shaped fruits, the intricate patterns covered with them began to emit dazzling golden light. Woof. Could it be that when the white mist is absorbed, it is the day the fruit is ripe? Wang Kai also noticed the abnormality and cried out excitedly. Maybe. Mu Yun was slightly nervous. Time slowly passed, and the lines covered on the outside of the 6 golden fruits became brighter and more dazzling. The white fog in the basin gradually faded and disappeared. However, the flowers on the 6 golden fruits became more and more enchanting, and the petals gradually fell off, as if the mission had been completed, and the leaves were ready to return to their roots. Mu Yun also finally saw the whole picture of this ancient tree. This ancient tree is thousands of meters tall, and its canopy covers the entire sky. The branches stretch out into the distance like dragons, thick and straight. The white snow in the sky cannot hide the evergreen of the ancient trees. Babble. Suddenly, seeing that the time was ripe, the terrifying sound wave spread. Suddenly, all the bugs were affected and were shocked to death. Mu Yun stopped watching the play and went straight towards the fruit. Seeing this, the Lingai demon bat let out a roar, flapped its wings, and went straight to Mu Yun and Wang Kai. Eat Uncle Ben's kick. I hit. Wang Kai's hair stood upside down, and his body soared again. A huge dogleg kick towards the magic bat. Boom. With a loud bang, the Lingai demon bat was kicked by Wang Kai and flew more than 10 meters away. Its huge body broke dozens of branches and struggled to get up. HMPH. You know how powerful Uncle Ben is, Wang. Mu Yun ignored Wang Kai's snort and went straight to the fruit. The petals on the fruit just finished falling. With a wave of his hand, 6 golden fruits were included in the space ring by Mu Yun. Looking at the Lingai demon bat that rushed up, Mu Yun was not ready to make a move and dodged its claws with a dodge. Thanks to meeting me, I know that you are still a little useful, otherwise I would have killed you earlier. Mu Yun's words were very bad. The Lingayan demon bat glared at him resentfully. It continued to rush towards Mu Yun without dying, and the powerful wind blew Mu Yun's clothes hunting. Mu Yun shook his head and sighed. Stubborn. But a sword sound came out of the void. Mu Yun's arm shook, and a sharp sword radiance appeared out of thin air in the void, instantly shooting towards the Lingayan demon bat. Poof. Babble. The left eye of the Lingayan demon bat was directly pierced, and scarlet blood splattered out, wailing in pain. Mu Yun took back the dragon court sword, and Wang Ke saw that there was an opportunity to beat the falling water dog, and naturally did not let go. I went up and made up for it. Bang. The big bat was kicked down 1,000 meters in the air by Wang Ke and fell to the ground fiercely, life and death unknown. Right now, the towering ancient trees began to tremble continuously. The lush canopy gradually withers and withers. Click. With the sound of branches breaking, it seemed to turn on some kind of signal. The giant tree began to tilt slowly and finally rumbled on the ground, stirring up a large amount of rubble. What's the situation, Wang? Wang Ke looked at the scene in front of him suspiciously. At the moment when the giant tree collapsed, the powerful wind overturned countless insects and bats around it. This is. Mu Yun found. A green light appeared at the break of the giant tree. There seems to be something good, Wang Ke exclaimed excitedly. Take a look. Mu Yun flew straight towards the green light with Wang Ke. When the two approached the break of the giant tree, the green light became more intense, as if it were substance. A strange breath pervaded. A jade pendant with a whole body of turquoise crystal floated out from the green light. Huh. Mu Yun exclaimed in surprise. He could feel that this jade pendant contained extreme purity, majestic power. What is this? Mu Yun asked. Wang Ke also shook his head. A jade pendant grew in the tree. Uncle Ben is still the first time to see it. Wang. Mu Yun held the jade pendant in his palm. This jade pendant is round and swirling, and although it is relatively small, it weighs 3 catties. A turquoise ribbon was tied to the jade pendant, and a lifelike snake pattern could be faintly seen hovering on it. Psionic weapons? Not quite like Mu Yun muttered. Taking a deep breath, Mu Yun wanted to put the jade pendant into the space ring, ready to find a safe place, and then study the sudden mutation. The moment the jade pendant entered the space ring, the jade pendant suddenly emitted a dazzling brilliance, and released a brilliant green pillar of light. But the pillar of light broke through the blockade of the space ring, and soared into the sky. Mu Yun only felt a flicker in front of him, and when he reacted, he found himself on a grassland. Where is this? Mu Yun looked around vigilantly. Wang Ke. Mu Yun shouted, but did not get any response. Right now, an ethereal voice suddenly sounded in my ears. The chosen child. The voice was mysterious and intoxicating. Hearing this voice, Mu Yun's spirit involuntarily relaxed. This is me. The final gift. The voice still echoed in my head. Mu Yun only felt a blur in front of his eyes, and then there was darkness in front of his eyes, and he fainted. When he wakes up, I found myself back in front of the giant tree. Mu Yun felt an unprecedented weakness in his body. There was also a tearing sensation in my mind. Wang. Seeing Mu Yun open his eyes, Wang Ke hurriedly ran over. Mu Yun, what is your situation? Why did you suddenly disappear and suddenly appear, scaring Uncle Ben to death? Mu Yun sat up and touched his forehead. The pain was unbearable. Get out of here first. Mu Yun stood up and prepared to leave with Wang Ke, but as soon as he took a step, a feeling of dizziness hit him, and he almost fell to the ground. Wang Ke realized that Mu Yun's state was not right, and the surrounding bat monsters and insect tides were about to rush up. You take me first, Mu Yun said. Wang Ke promised, carrying Mu Yun on his back and running towards the village. Cheer up, if you die, Uncle Ben will be finished. Woof. Wang Ke ran happily. At this time, Mu Yun suddenly felt hot in his chest and looked down. A green pendant the size of a thumb hangs quietly from his chest. But the space ring on his hand disappeared. Lying groove. Laotzu supplies won't be gone, right? Mu Yun suddenly became nervous. That was the foundation of his own life, and the 6 mysterious golden fruits were still in it. But this is clearly not the time to think about it. The strong tearing sensation in his mind became stronger and stronger, making Mu Yun break out in a cold sweat in pain. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.